A very good morning and welcome to the Eastern Cape State of the Province Address broadcast. We are coming to you live from Bisho. My name is Jessica Bobo. Now the day that the Eastern Cape has been waiting for has arrived, which is the 21st of February 2025, where the Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Lubabalo Mabuyane will address the State of the Province Address. Now this marks the first State of the Province Address since 7th administration took office. Now this is right after the general elections of 2024. What I can tell you for sure is that the Eastern Cape residents are waiting eagerly and also hoping that the Premier will touch on the hard-hitting core issues of the Eastern Cape. If you can mention a few, it's job creation. We know the unemployment rate is sitting at just about 30%, which is 36.6%, and also health issues and of course the failing infrastructure in the Eastern Cape. And of course, I will not be talking alone to go to the Premier speech. I am joined by my colleague Yamkela Mchio. Yamkela, a very good morning.
A very good morning to you, Jessica.
I saw you earlier this morning walking around the legislature. What have you observed, and also what is the atmosphere? Because from where I'm standing, looks quite interesting and exciting.
Yes, Jessica, it is indeed very exciting. The mood is exciting. You could just tell from Imbuso Zabantu that are attending this event, the minute they step their foot outside their cars here in the drop-off zone, you can see that they are eager to hear what the Premier of the Eastern Cape will be saying as he delivers a State of the Province address. I can tell you that they are looking good. They are looking stylish as they walk on that red carpet. We've seen some wearing their designer outfits, wearing traditional attires, red overalls and army overalls from the MK party, who will be sitting for the first time inside that chamber, listening to the State of the Province address since their establishment. What is happening though right now, Jessica, is that the police parade is busy marching with the Premier of the Eastern Cape, inspecting what they are doing. And also what we're expecting from there is that there will be the singing of the national anthem by the police band and St. Patrick's Special School. From there, the Premier then will join the members of the Parliament at the stage for a photo shoot. After that, siya kweyona nto sizele apha namhlanje sive into yobana sibizelwe ntoni na engene eParlamente ekhatshwa Sergeant at Arms.
Well, as also you have heard my colleague saying that there's a lot of people coming in, and I just want to also add that it's very interesting to know that the chamber will take about 400 people, including the delegates coming from overseas. If I can mention a few, Russia, Netherlands, as well as Africa. But earlier on, I did speak to the Speaker of the Legislature, Helen Souls, and she spoke to us about the state of readiness of this SOPA.
Speaker, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us from Pumakapa TV. These are the questions that I will be asking you. Well, Legislature is hosting the Premier who will be delivering his first SOPA for the 7th administration at Legislature, Bisho. Are you ready for this big occasion? We see it moved back to Legislature this year after being held in East London last year.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. Indeed, we are honoured as the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature to have requested the Premier to come and table his SOPA for 2025 in the legislature. Yes, we did the opening of the legislature in Tabankulu, as well as the last one for 2023 at Abbotsford. But now we are back and we will be rotating. Also remembering that there's always cost involved, so we have to move in between. So that I think is the way that we will be going with the confines, obviously, of the budget. But we are happy. We are ready for tomorrow. As you can see, last minute things are being set up, and it's all system go at this stage.
Well, thank you, Speaker. Among the 400 guests attending this SOPA is apparently guests from overseas. Can you tell us about these guests and what countries are they from?
Well, obviously, the guests from overseas would be those diplomats. Those are the invites that the Premier would usually send to the countries from BRICS. Those would be from Russia, I understand, that have confirmed. But also there are countries where the OTP has got twinning agreements. Germany is one of those countries where they have twinning agreements. And usually there would be one or two of the African countries that would also be attending in this regard. So usually, from abroad, it would usually be those countries either where we have twinning agreements or where, the country, South Africa, would be having a vested interest in that country.
Thank you so much, Speaker. Well, SOPA is not just about the Premier's speech, it's also the opening of provincial legislature as it starts with its business for the year. Are you looking forward to this? What is your first order of business after SOPA?
Well, it's exciting. I think most of the members can't wait to get busy with the work. It's quite a congested program. Coming back last year, starting in June, July, basically with our work, with all the inductions that have taken place. Now we need to start with the work. And obviously, after the tabling of the State of the Province address, we now have to go and have a debate on the tabling of the State of the Province address. We also have to have the tabling of the provincial appropriation budget that must take place. And then thereafter, we will then have the tabling of the policy and budget speeches. So you can see for the next couple of weeks, we'll be quite busy with the tabling and unpacking actually what the Premier, the commitments that the Premier has lifted up in his State of the Province. The MECs will then be tabling their policy and budget speeches where they will basically unpack all those details. And then obviously prior to that, we will have from the MEC of Finance that will basically tell us in terms of what the Premier has reflected on commitments in areas of priority where that budget will then flow to. And we are excited for this process to be undertaken. Thereafter, it is your normal committee work of the portfolio committees. It's the oversight visits, the public participation that will be taking place. And it's going to be quite a congested year this year.
Thank you so much, Speaker. Just before I let you go, legislature has seen opposition parties in the past cause a disruption during SOPA. Do you have the security in place to deal with a situation like this if it should arise?
Well, obviously, we are very saddened when these kind of instances do occur. And yes, we always have to be prepared for any eventuality. It usually places a damper, but I think more than that, it places a damper on the quality of the leadership of the opposition. They think it places a damper on the quality of the leadership of the ruling party. But it's unfortunate, and we do hope and believe that at least they've learned their lesson now. That, those childish tantrums will be a thing of the past, and that we'll get on with the business that is required of this House and keep to the decorum. We need to respect each other because that's the hallmark of a democratic system. It is mutual respect and also have respect for your institutions.
As you have heard the Speaker of Legislature talking about the planning, a huge amount of planning that goes in when preparing for SOPA. But now, let's go and hear the promises the Premier has made to the residents of the Eastern Cape last year.
On the 28th of June 2019, we came before this august House and tabled a 5-year plan to build the Eastern Cape we want. Today, we are back here to provide a report on how far we have progressed to fulfill our electoral mandate. Our matric pass rate was actually at about 57% in 1994. In response to this challenge, this problem, the successive administration have focused on improving our education outcomes by ensuring conducive learning and teaching environment in our schools. We sustained investment in the core education infrastructure by building schools, providing scholar transport, and school nutrition. We have worked tirelessly to improve the health profile of our province. A functional healthcare system requires a reliable core infrastructure. This is why our investment in health went to building new healthcare facilities and improving existing health infrastructure, mostly in township and our rural communities. Similarly, we are not taking lightly the violence and discrimination against the LGBTQIA+ community. To combat the scourge of stock theft, we will be rolling out the livestock identification traceability system in villages and farms that are prone to stock theft. Nomcimbi, where crime and corruption, we're confronting that, and we are prepared to deal with that. While the level of malnutrition remain high, there has been a drop in the fatality rate due to severe acute malnutrition. We have also supplied more than 100,000 families with food production inputs to build household capacity to produce food. Of our liberation struggle was to give human dignity to our people, including the pursuit of decent living. This includes promoting access to formal housing for all our households. We worked tirelessly over the past 30 years to provide houses and housing subsidies to a large number of our people. Abantu belpondo ababengenawo amanzi ngaphambili aphuma ezitepini, 68% wabo they've got an access to piped water. Somlomo obekekileyo sinenkqubela phambili ethungelanayo ekwakheni iphondo leMpuma Kapa ibe liphondo esilifunayo.
Those were just some few highlights from the State of the Province address that was delivered by Premier Oscar Mabuyane in 2024, highlighting that they have built 24,000 houses to improve the lives of the people of the Eastern Cape and 100 schools in the last 5 years and some health facilities. Now, counting down to 2025 State of the Province address, a lot of people are expecting to hear some of the new developments that the Premier will be talking about leading to job creations. And some of those people that are waiting for the Premier is the House of Traditional Leaders with its chairperson, Nkosi Gwebingele Gwadiso, saying that he's waiting, or in fact, he's hoping that the Premier will address the lack of access roads and bridges. Let us hear what the Nkosi had to say about what he's expecting from the Premier.
Kusamkela usihlalo wendlu yenkosi kwiphondo leMpuma Kapa uNkosi uMpumalanga kaGwadiso. Mhlekazi, masewubulele ngexesha lakho. Inkosi kakhulu. Mhlekazi, ngaba zeziphi inkalo ocinga into ebana inkulu baphathiswa ufana ibana iyazinyathela ngomso kuphucula iphondo leMpuma Kapa?
Eastern Cape iyaziwa uba liphondo elingamaphandle. Ngoko ke into yokuqala ekufuneka iphuculiwe indlela zase-Eastern Cape zonakele. Ixesha elide ziye zayekwa zingalungiswa, kungenjalo zingalondolozwa. Okwesibini, izibhedlele zibaluleke kakhulu. Amayeza into engamandla kuyavakala. Bantu ixesha elininzi bafike ezikliniki bafike kusithwa akho mayeza, bathunyelwe ke ezibhedlele, abanye bahambe kwindlela ezimbi ukuya ezibhedlele. Siyayazi into okokubana iilali zethu zime zisahlulwa yimilambo emikhulu. Kufuneka kwenziwe iibhlorho noba zezi zamajoni oku koba abantu bakuthi bakwazi into yobana bawele, because uzawufumanisa uba ezi ndlela ziya kwizibhedlele ziya ezidolophini okanye ziya kwindawo abanokwazi into yoba bafumane iinqwelo mafutha ezizikawonke-wonke. Ngoko ke kubalulekile into yobana makwenziwe lula into yobana abantu babufumane ubomi bubuhle. Okwesithathu, iphondo leMpuma Koloni ayisilo phondo lunamigodi. Ngoko kuyakuxelela kubuqoqosho lwaseMpuma Koloni kwakudala kusekwi-colonialists ukuze abantu baseMpuma Koloni kwimfazwe zabo namakoloniali bakwazi ukohlulwa. Amakoloniali abona into okokubana aba bantu uqoqosho lwabo lusemasimini. Ngoko ke kubalulekile into yobana ke urhulumente azijule ijacu encedisa abo bakwazi babonakala into okokubana bayikhuthalele le nto ye-agriculture okanye yolimo, bancediswe ngezinto zonke abafanele babancediswe ngazo izixhobo. Ngoba ke inyani emsulwa yeyokokubana akusekho bantu basebenzisa inkabi, akukho bantu abantwana basezikolweni ngoku. And then okwesine, imfundo le, izikolo kwenziwe zonke indlela zokokubana kubekho ukwakhiwa kakuhle. Kukho izikolo ezisokola azina toilets, kungenjalo uve kuthiwe ziya overflow. Kungake ngoku kungaqalasela kakhulu nentlalo yabo abantwana phaa ezikolweni, abo sebethe bakhuthala into yobana mabaye bawo bakwi-high schools. Kwenziwe nendlela yokokubana phaya kuliwe ugonyamelo lenkohlakalo yokutyiwa kwezinto ezifanele uba ziye eluntwini, zikhululwa amathumbu ento eziyokwenza into zoluntu. Ithi ke ngoku loo nto le kuliwe i-corruption kangangoko. Ze kuphinde kwesihlanu, uba ngaba sithetha ngento kokubana kufuneka kubekho imisebenzi, urhulumente akadala imisebenzi. Urhulumente wenza imeko ibe ntle for abatyali zimali kuzotsho kubekho imisebenzi. Zezo zinto ke ndicinga uba zibalulekile nesizilindeleyo uba urhulumente uyawuchaphazela ngamandla kuzo.
Izinto ezininzi sihlala sozichaphazele kukubuza nje into yobana buke wathetha ngamafama nokuxhomekeka koqoqosho nempilo yabantu baseMpuma Kapa ekulimeni. Ingaba mhlambi aba basebenza ngentsango ucinga into yobana urhulumente uyababandakanya ngokwaneleyo na xa equlunqa amacebo okuphuhlisa la industry?
Msasazi wam, ndicinga into yobana xa kuqalwa into kuzawubakho amakhwiniba phaa naphaa. Ngoba uyawukhumbula uba kaloku ixesha elininzi le ntsangu ibisoloko ibonwa njengento yasemampondweni, ibonwe njengento engekho semthethweni, ubeke nomthetho ke ube usitsho. Urhulumente ingangayilungiselele le nto yobana aba bantu bebeyilima le ntsangu bangake balinga babekwe ecaleni, ngoba bona bayimele yado yabonwa into okokubana eneneni iluqoqosho olukhulu olunokwenza lithathe inxaxheba enkulu ekunikeni imisebenzi. Ngoko ke kuyafuneka aba bantu bancediswe banikwe izixhobo kuthini.
Enkosi Sihlalo.
Nkosi kakhulu msasazi wam.
Lo ke ngusihlalo wendlu yenkosi kwiphondo leMpuma Kapa, uNkosi uMpumalanga kwaQwatiso.
njengokubona ke mbukeli liyasondela lona ixesha lokuba inkulu baphathisa iwise intetho yayo nanjengokubona ke emveni kwam abantu bayantontelelana bayalandelelana bengena besiya phaa kwii-chambers nanjengoba benditshilo ke ekuqaleni into yokuba ngabana abantu abaza kungena phaa by 400 ukanti ke ngoku besisuka phaa ezinkosini ziwisa zithetha ngeengxaki zazo ezijongene nazo nezibawela into yokubana inkulu baphathiswa ithethe ngazo inkulu baphathiswa ithethe ngazo ingakumbi indlela nento yonke nangoku ke siza kuthetha ke ngoku sijonge phaa kwabantu balapha e-Eastern Cape abathe bathetha nakuthe bakulindele ukuva kwinkulu baphathiswa yephondo.
Ngasamnyuse imali endohla ahoye nabantwana abahlelelekileyo because kwabantwana bazi-street kids abaphandle yaba abalahlwa ngabazali so into endinqwenelayo ngaske alungiselele abantwana abaphandle lungiselele naba bantu bangaphangeliyo baninzi abantu abangaphangeliyo.
We've experienced a wave of increases in kidnappings in our midst of business people, number one, and number two, people who are perceived to have access to money or who are well moneyed. So there's been sort of an increase in that department as well. So if our Premier could please look at that, we would greatly appreciate it as citizens.
Okay, daar by my huis, ek het 'n probleem daar by my huis onder. Heb die disabled huis. Ek het 'n probleem met water wat van die straat af in my huis invloei en daar's nog baie probleme daar by my huis. En ek weet nie wanneer kan ek intrek in my huis nie. Ek bly op die oomblik bly ek in iemand anders se huis en die beneficiary van die huis wat ek in bly na 2911 sy soek 'n huis nou urgent. Nou weet ek nie waar toe moet ek gaan nie.
Indele ukuba upremier akasinike umsebenzi kunzima sithwele imimbona asinamali bantwana bethu bayasokola sihambe kufuneka sifumene isibane sokulayita ngalenxa yalo mbona siwuthola ilanga lishushu akasinike umsebenzi bekunanda nisinike umsebenzi.
We certainly like to see more employment. There's always a threat and a challenge. I see poverty everywhere. We see homeless people living on the streets, which is quite a tragedy, and it's sad to see. So we'd really like to see employment developed, businesses coming to the Eastern Cape.
Those are some of the issues that the people of the Eastern Cape have been complaining about, ranging from unemployment, service delivery, health facilities, and the deteriorating state of the clinics that we have in the Eastern Cape province. One of the issues that tops the list is unemployment that the people have been complaining about. Jessica, unemployment has been at the top of the list, and now it's not only about young people complaining about it, but you would hear also parents saying that we've done our part, we've taken them to school, now we need government to create job opportunities for our young people.
Well, Yamkela, it is a very hard-hitting issue, the fact of not being employed. As you have just said now to me that the parents are taking their children to school all the way to get the degrees, but only to sit back at home and only to be depressed of not being able to find jobs. And I just also want to pose to you the question that you've been doing quite a number of stories I've seen in this London area, especially with the NGOs. I think the people would like to know what are the most core issues of service delivery that the people are facing there.
I can tell you for sure, Jessica, that basic needs seem to be the main issue that the people are complaining about. Water, you remember that we had that issue in Krisani District Municipality, Buffalo City, Metro, and also the Old Town. They're all complaining about water scarcity. They are complaining about electricity, access roads even, and bridges. Some students have to cross rivers in order to get to school. We've talked to some of the NGOs around East London who have showed little to no hope to the government of the Eastern Cape, saying that it is all talk show, but nothing has been done up to this far. We managed to talk to the National Community Dialogue, who was saying that if the people of the Eastern Cape don't stand up and work for themselves, then they are not going to get anything. Let us listen to what the National Community Dialogue had to say.
Sibulise kuwe sibulise ke napha emakhaya kubaphulaphula basimomeleyo ingakumbi ke nabathandi nabalandeli be-National Community Dialogues ngalenjika langa.
Uluphathiswa ngolwesihlanu izabe isenza imithetho ngobume bephondo lempo nikeza nezicwangciso zokuba kuye kanjani naphambili. Amaqela ezopolitiko ke ake anesikhalo esithi kulubaphathiswa ayathetha nje yenza izithembiso ezingafezekiswayo. Ingaba ngokunokwenu nicinga into yokuba intetho azoyenza ngoku izaba yintetho egxile ekuqubiseneni nomcimbi wentswelangqesho kweliphondo kwanenkonzo ezingundoqo ezingeziyo luntweni?
No, ayikwazi ukwenzeka loo nto leyo. Bona ngalani ba abize amaqela avana nawo angakwazi ukuthi awuba ngabakenzi kakuhle amkhole in order. That is why even amaqela njenge-National Community Dialogues engabizwanga, because i-National Community Dialogues umsebenzi wayo kukwenza so uburhulumente uyayenza le nto befanele uyayenza abantwini. Now nobangela ke ba ingabizwa is because kuyaziwa into yoba imibuzo abayibuzayo yile kanye ehlupha abantu phaya ezantsi. Now kuyafana nje ngoba ke isopa ke seyaphenduka yayisekhasi njengoku nendawo apho kubonakaliswa khona i-fashion show, because abantu abarhulumente unfortunately abantu abakhange babe nanto before bangene erhulumente, so when befika phaya bafikela bona neziqu zabo.
Ukwathetha ngento yokubana bafikela phana iziqu zabo thetha ukuthi loo nto leyo awunathemba le ntetho eza kwenziwa ngolubaphathiswa ekutshintsheni izinto iphuma kapha ejongene nazo.
Umbutho olawulayo sawuyazi sonke sesiwami ukuthi uselawuleni over 30 years ngoku. Akukho nto uyenzileyo oyitshintshileyo, so akusilindlanga tshintsho. Into esiyilindeleyo ukuthi abantu funeka bavuke bazenzele bahlangane. Siwabonela amaqela njenge-AfriForum, eSoccer Universities engadibananga laa nto yokwenza narhulumente. Thetha ukuthi abantu especially abantu abantsundu ingase baphakame bazenzele ngokunokwabo.
Ezinye zezinto ebethe wabe uyazibalula ngaphambili kulubaphathiswa Oscar Mabuyane kokubana bakhe izindlu ezingapha ko-24,000 kwiminyaka emihlanu eyadlulayo. Ucinga into yokubana oku kwanele ukujongana nengxaki yentlalo esephuma koloni?
Akusoze kwanele msasazi. Siyabona nathi especially apha kule ndawo sikuyo yaseMonti amandlela amaninzi ngayo amatyotyombe. Mawufika edolophini iflats phayana nazo ezindala kakhulu azihoywanga. Ithetha ukuthi akukho njongo ukuthi abantu babe kanti bayenyusela umgangatho wokuhlala, but into eyenzekayo nje kuba kudliselwe ngezimoto zemnyama zine-lights kube kuphelela lapho.
Ucinga ubana bengxaki intoni?
Ingxaki lurhwaphilizo nokunyoluka kwabantu bakuthi. Le nto bendiyithetha ke ndithi ngabantu abakhange babe nanto phambi koba bangene erhulumente. Yiyo laa nto noceba uyawufumanisa into yoba ngaba abazazi uba bazi-70 zabahlali, because ooceba zi-7 zabahlali banemali abayifumanayo yokufowunela abahlali. That is why abahlali kumele babenze loo callback xa bebafuna, and uceba akakwazi ukulala uceba because nguye oyi-7 nguye obhatarwayo for uba asebenzele abahlali, but ooceba bakhona ba-acta as a-CEOs.
Alright. Kwa kule sopa yonyaka opheleyo wathi wabe uyabalula into yokubana bakhe izikolo ezilikhulu. Ucinga mhlawumbi into yokubana noko bangaziqhenya ngomsebenzi abawenzileyo. Sijonga nakambe ke ne-toilets ezithe zifakwe phana i-toilets ezithe zabhengezwa yi-South African Human Rights Commission into yobana azikho mgangathweni onguwo ukubana asetyenziswa ngabantwana.
Ukuba semgangathweni yenye into bekufanele bazikho 30 years down the line sisuka kwinkululeko. Now eyona nto ebalulekileyo funeka siyazi uba aba bantu abanayo injongo yokulungisa okanye yokuphucula ubomi babantu. Okubalulekileyo yile nto bendiyithetha ke ndithi akunceda into ofana wokha izikolo kungekho bridge abantwana abazawuwela kuzo baye kwezi zikolo. So eyona nto ebalulekileyo funeka baqale ngeziseko ezingundoqo, iindlela nee-bridges ukwenzela abantwana bakwazi ukuthi bakhuseleke xa beye ezikolweni.
Kuphunywa njani ke yonke le nto?
Well, le nto bendiyithetha ke ndithi ke sibonile umzekelo amaqela njenge-AfriForum, so singazeka mzekweni nathi singabantu abantsundu sihlukane nepolitiki, because ipolitiki into eyenza iyasihlukanisa endaweni bisidibanise, singene kwimibutho yokuhlala engenzi inzuzo, sihlangane sonke ukwenza uba senze laa nto ethi ebizwa ngoba yi-crowdfunding, sizenzele izinto ngokunokwethu singabahlali.
Zeziphi ezinye izinto oqonda into yobana okanye orhalela into yobana inkulubaphathiswa izichaphazele ngomso?
Kwelolwaphulo mthetho siyayazi sonke kune-extortionists eziqhubekayo right now, abantu abakwazi ukulala ngenxa yezaphula mthetho. there was a mass murder elusikisiki azikasombululeki zonke izinto eyona nto ebalulekileyo befanele abantu babekwe bakhuseleke kuthatha amapolisa aneleyo namapolisa la South Africa siyazi sonke kanelanga because ikhona iratio ekufanele ibe kanti lelo nani ukuze kube kanti yonele but ayenzeki lonto South Africa because eyona nto ebalulekileyo ukuthi i-politicians zona zizingi ngokungathi zingabantu abanemali kodwa zinamali.
Enkosi kakhulu Mhlekazi.
Masibonge kakhulu Nkosi.
Sibulele kakhulu ngumnumzana olulameli kaBavuma lowo ophuma phakathi kwe-National Community Dialogue.
We are now exactly 30 minutes away before the Premier takes the stand. I just want to mention that the opposition parties did mention that the Premier always makes empty promises. But my colleague, Terran Wellman, spoke to Tep Lunch, who is the academic analyst, who also told us what to expect from the Premier's speech.
Do you think the Premier will give a speech that delivers to prove Eastern Cape residents his SOPA address is not just, as opposition parties call it, empty talk, but has real solutions for unemployment, poor service delivery and underdevelopment in the province?
Well, I think one can really just hope that the Premier and his MECs are able to deliver on the promises that they've set out over the last couple of years. It's the Premier's first term, of course. He's been the head of the ANC for almost 2 terms, and our province isn't where it's supposed to be. And so to a certain degree, one can easily agree with the opposition parties that not much has changed over the last 4 years, at least over the last 3 years, at least, since he has been leading the government here in the Eastern Cape. So yeah, the hope is, of course, that things change, but one is very conservative with that. I think there are massive issues within the province. Yes, there has been certain improvements, but there are massive issues, especially in line with governance, corruption, local government, and it seems as that the ANC, the head of the ANC and the Premier of the Eastern Cape hasn't been able to arrest those issues, both within his political party in the province, as well as the province more generally speaking.
Now, the EFF have backed their claims that SOPA is a spectacle of false hope by citing an example of an unfulfilled promise from his previous address. The Premier pledged in SOPA 2024 to have electric vehicle charging stations built in Komani, Makanda and Mtata by May last year. Do you think the EFF has a point if promises like these are not delivered upon?
Yes, absolutely true. I mean, that's one issue. There are several other issues, especially in education and especially with, health. There's massive issues with hospitals, clinics, the employment of doctors, the employment of nurses and other staff. In the health sector, the security, of course, issues around that. And so the EFF in that particular context, not that one wants to agree with the political party for the sake of agreeing with the political party, but absolutely, I think similar to, my previous statements in your first question, the EFF does have a leg to stand on, and it's time, I suppose, that the province of legends, so to speak, as it's known, that the Premier of the province of legends does fulfill his promises.
And then there are a few areas the Premier put emphasis on in his SOPA speech last year, with education taking centre stage. He said the government built over 100 schools in the last 5 years. So do you think this is something the provincial government can still be proud of, considering the Human Rights Commission found that the new VIP pit toilets the Education Department has been installing into these schools do not comply with the safety standards set by the Water Research Commission and are unsafe?
Yeah, I suppose one has to give credit where credit is due, and there's been an improvement in that regard. However, of course, we know that education is a massive issue around the country, more especially in the rural parts of the Eastern Cape. National government has a responsibility to create policies, and provincial government together provincial government, the education ministry, as well as public works, for the lack of a better word, I forget the official name now, have the responsibility to look after, to build, to cater for, the future leaders of South Africa. Again, to use the term that this is the province of legends, so to speak, and how can you raise a next generation of legends if the basics aren't even there? And so, although there's important development within the education field, Bella and others, of course, that could be debated on another day. The Premier and his executive have a responsibility. They are in many classes, in many schools, I should rather say, beyond just the pit latrine issue, which needed to be solved many years ago. The previous ministries of education have promised. The current Minister of Education has promised. Fair enough, she's only been in the term for about a year, give or take, maybe a bit less. But that's a vital issue that needs to be addressed. It's an important human rights issue, and it seems at the core of this that there isn't a consequence management. And so if the Premier is serious, if his government is serious and the Department of Education is serious, then I think the first point of reference would be that there needs to be some consequence management when it comes to fulfilling their obligation as government.
And then we've spoken about education, but another big problem is unemployment. So Premier Mabuyane promised to halve the unemployment rate, which was 37.4% at the start of his term 5 years ago. And it's now sitting at 42.4%, with more than 77,000 people losing their jobs last year. Now that he is starting a new term, do you think he can keep this promise?
Well, it's very difficult because the province, of course, works within a broader context, within the South African national context, within a global context. And of course, as you may be quite aware, there's rapidly changing international happenings at the moment. Of course, the USA and South Africa is top of mind when one thinks about what's happening at an international level. However, having said that, there are also issues that can be solved in the province that's under the control of the province that will alleviate issues of unemployment. And again, it doesn't seem like these things are addressed in a real sense. Basic things like infrastructure. The Buffalo City municipality, again, year after year receives unqualified audits, so to speak, or qualified audits, I should rather say. And there's basic stuff like making sure that the pipes are running. That fulfills that can fulfill one's promise. There's crime issues. Eastern Cape should be the tourism hub, together with the Western Cape and together with KwaZulu-Natal. But especially Eastern Cape, we've got great flora and fauna. We've got amazing beaches. But if you just do a cursory read of news in our tourist hotspots, there's often crime and unrelenting crime in many of these areas. So why isn't security, safety and security that can support unemployment? And of course, the primary role of, and it depends on your ideological standpoint, but the role of government is not necessarily to create jobs. Yes, there are spaces where they do create jobs, but they are meant to create an environment. And so the Premier has the ability, if he leads well, to have quick wins so that jobs can be halved in that sense.
Over 400 people are in attendance here at the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature, eager to hear what the Premier of the Eastern Cape will be saying, especially with regards to the traditional leaders. We do have them all here who also want to be involved in the proceedings of getting the Eastern Cape into the greater heights. Some of those traditional leaders that we do have is the Khoisan leadership, who are right here next to me. Welcome to Mpumalanga. Thank you so much for joining us. Please talk to us about your expectations as the Premier will be delivering SOPA.
Shalom, shalom, good morning. We are standing here as the 5 tribes of the Khoi and San, namely the San, the Griquas, the Koranas, Cape Khoi, and the Namas. Our expectation from our Honorable Premier is they must give us, as the father of this province, the full recognition we deserve in legislation of the Constitution of South Africa.
Which full recognition do you require from the government?
The recognition of what we are talking about is they must recognize us in our full recognition, in our full status as the first nation amongst the leaders of the country.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Moving right along to one of the leaders, Doc, what are you expecting in particular to hear from the Premier of the Eastern Cape?
Good morning. I'm Dr. Vivian Koch. I'm the king of the Griquas. And one of the things that we want to see today, I think you know that the Griqua nation, I'm not talking about a tribe, I'm talking about a nation. Now the reason why I'm saying the Griqua nation, we have a flag, we have a coat of arms, and we have an anthem, and that makes us a nation. Now before, when Adam Koch, the first, the second, and the third were alive, there was a kingship. And we would like the restoration and recognition of the Griqua nation, the Khoi-San nation. I want to say this, yes.
Right. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I still wanted to talk, but in any case, it's enough.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We appreciate you, sir. Those are the leadership of the Khoi-San, saying that they do have many tribes within their nation, and they need the recognition from the Eastern Cape government. Now, what we're going to do is to go straight and hear what the people had to say about the issues of safe delivery ravaging the Eastern Cape province.
We took to the streets, getting views from our diverse province on what people are expecting from the Premier's much-anticipated address.
Okunye besokucela besicela into ezifana uniform nezinto ezifana tools ngoba siye sishode sithathe ezindlini zethu ukuzoncedisa because abantu be-community baye ba-benefit.
Kumasebe karhulumente azikho izithulu, ndiyacela ngumbuso uzuke uthethe ngale ngxaki le yezithulu ezingekhoyo kumasebe karhulumente.
The problem with ports is there's basically a short supply of vessels right now. Vessels is not in town, which results in a short supply of oversupply of our food in the market.
So besibawela ukuthi ke because i-facilities ka-government simoshakele ke i-artisans siqeshwe permanent singabantu esifumana as contract siphelele esithubeni.
Elektrisiteit is 'n probleem because why hulle het styg elke week of elke maand styg elektrisiteit.
Improvement of infrastructure, potholes singabi inhlekisa mkhulwa wami. Le city lena ndinesiqinisekiso kakhulu uba if izinto ezininzi zingaka-improve imali ingangena apha ephondweni.
Eastern Cape, home of legends.
We are a few minutes away before the Premier can take the stand inside the chambers. But let us hear more of what the people of the Eastern Cape have to say or are expecting from the Premier in his speech today.
Ndicinga uba unophinde uvelelwe into zomsebenzi abantu abatsha baphinde baphangele. Abantu abafundileyo bafumana opportunities, internships zivuleleke because bayagrade abantu baphinde bahlale. Small businesses, abantu abatsha bakwazi bangaba xa befuna i-funding any government department enako uku-create opportunity in terms of funding so that abantu bakwazi ubenefita kwizinto zikarhulumente because sinikiwe opportunity uba masivote savota with the hope that zikhona izinto ezaba better ezaba.
What I think the government can change is maybe helping the people that are on the street, people that don't have anything. The government's not really doing anything or that we can see anything to help them.
Ndingakhanyela mna uba uMabuyane asivulele imisebenzi so that ne-youth ingakwazi ukuphangela ngumuntu abesettle njengabanye abantu.
We have the issue of GPV in our province. There was, I think last year or last year, there was a lot of money that was allocated nationally for GBV victims and all of that to solve the GBV issue. But we don't hear those campaigns, you know. So I think the Premier must make sure that they are working this year to raise awareness about gender-based violence.
Our infrastructure, our roads is demolished, like everything is bad. Our health, if you walk into a hospital, I mean, look at Utnik Provincial Hospital, the service is poor, everything is poor. If you go in there, you're gonna wait for hours to get help. If you go to Livingston, the same thing. All the public hospitals, they have poor service, they are dirty,
Earlier on, we heard the Premier saying that for the past 5 years, they have built 100 schools with ablution facilities. But we've seen that the Equal Education doesn't seem to be happy with the state of ablution facilities in these new schools that the Premier has been talking about. Remember what the Equal Education said. They said that even though the Premier has built these schools, but there's still an issue with the ablution facilities because they do not meet the standards of water and sanitation. That was revealed by the South African Human Rights, meaning that even though there's progress, but they are still not happy.
Well, Yamgela, I do want to add that on schools, another issue that is hard-hitting, it is actually the vandalism in schools, which when I spoke on the story that I did to the Eastern Cape spokesperson for education, is that what must happen or what must the SGBs do in order to be able to protect the schools from the communities? Because we know that these problems of vandalism comes from the community around the area where the school is situated. And we also know the long chain of the long chain of how long it takes for the schools to be built. And we must also think that these schools are taking about 300 and more children inside.
Speaking about taking 300 children and more, is that what the Equal Education raised is that the school rationalization program is not helping at all, because if you move students from a certain school to another, maybe that is far from where they're staying, now they are facing challenges. They have to walk over 10 kilometers to get to school. They are crowded in schools. Now the issue is the shortage of teachers. They're saying that those are some of the problems that they have in schools. And you also mentioned the fact that the SGB has to play a role in ensuring that those schools are not vandalized. And it all boils down to Landeto iti mntwana ukhuliswa sisikolo inkonzo kwakunye nelali, because residents also have a role to play in ensuring that every infrastructure that is found in their area is protected at all costs, and that is for their benefit.
Well, ndiyafuna ukuke yamkela into yoba ngabana nangona ispeeches kaPrima sizawuqala ngoku, ndiyayiqonda into yokuba abanye abantu abaninzi xa sithetha kanye ngezikolo bayafuna ukujonga into yokuba ngabana izawuthini into ye-scholar transport, because ngomnye umcelimngeni lowo abajongene nawo abazali beba kunye nabantwana, abantwana bangakwazi ukuthutheka ukusuka esikolweni ukuya emakhaya. Andiyazi ke mhlawumbi noba buke wajonga na kwi-speech salast yokuba ebeyifake kangakanani into yokubana abantwana baza kuncedala nge-transport, kodwa ke ndiyathemba zezinye izinto abahlala bajonga ukuziva.
Ngokuqinisekileyo balindile ukuva into yokubana umcimbi we-scholar transport uzohamba ngaliphi uhlobo. You'd remember that there are two departments responsible for the scholar transport system. They have to work hand in hand. They have to see the same vision. They have to have the proper plan, one plan that they both have to follow in order to ensure that the issue of scholar transport is fixed. What normally happens over the years is that sibona abantwana kuqala ukufunda isikolo ngoJanuary ngoFebruary bengekafumani i-scholar transport, now that's an issue because abantwana will have to walk distances to school. Bafike bekhathele. That now has a negative impact in how they listen and perform in school.
Omnye umcelimngeni singathetha singayeki ke yamkela ngento yesikolo. It's a crime. Kwenzeka i-crime phayana esikolweni, especially xana zingekho i-securities, especially kwezikolo zingahoyekanga. Ndiske ndingayazi ke ngoku noba uDepartment of Education uzawungenelela thini, and also iDepartment of Safety ingenelele ithini. Awucingi mhlambi ezixesha lehamba kuyanyanzeleka uba ezi department zibe nemeeting okanye umhlangano ezihlalayo ezinokwazi into yokubana at least izikolo zikwazi ukuncedakala, kubekho i-safety ngaphandle ezikolweni ukwazi ukukhathalela abantwana kwakunye nootitshala, because le ngxaki iye ithi boil down to i-problem into yoba ngabani iitishara ziyemka ezikolweni. Abantu abazali babayabakhupha abantwana babo ezikolweni, bayanqongophala ke ngoku abantwana ezikolweni, isheke isikolo sivandalize sinjalo, kunyanzeleka into yokubana isikolo kufuneke zivalwe only because ingxaki of the lack of security in schools in the Eastern Cape.
Indeed, we've seen a number of incidents whereby children fight in schools. They attack teachers even. I remember we once went to Tsofimvaba where the traditional leader there was the one driving this issue. They had community imbizos. They called the Department of Education. They called the Department of Community Safety. They called the department, all those departments, in fact, to ensure that they come together, sit down, draft a proper plan on how are they going to address this issue. What was happening in Tsofimvaba was that there was a school where learners from different areas were studying there. So there was a fight between these two areas. So they took their fight to school. And now that affected a lot of people that went to school for education and not what they had. And what I liked about that engagement is that they called the students, set them down, and allowed them to come up with solutions. That is their problem. They have to take part in addressing the issue. They have to take part in coming up with contingency plans of how then are we addressing the issue of crime in the Eastern Cape. We do need the Department of Community Safety to come in hard in dealing with crime. Because we just saw yesterday, there was a shootout just outside Butterworth in Levana between Onwevo kwakunye namapolisa, where we saw 5 of them, Onwevo abo besoyisakala. That's just the level of criminal activities here in this Eastern Cape that needs to be dealt with.
Yes, speaking of the fights the students they are taking to school, and it has emerged wherever it started. But I believe it was a few weeks ago when I spoke to the residents of the Eastern Cape, just posing to them the question of what do you think must be done about the problem of students or learners fighting in school. And it's quite very interesting, the answer I got from the residents, and it was that no, that the school needs to involve social department in schools, because these problems start at home from the children. So they were saying that the children also need to be speaking to social department and also take out maybe the stresses that they are having from home, because this could be involving from there. Speaking of psychologists, visiting schools, trying to monitor the children.
We are 6 minutes before the Premier of the Eastern Cape take it to the stage and address the residents of the Eastern Cape as he delivers the State of the Province address. We are waiting to hear what is it exactly that he is going to deliver.
There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer. You may be seated. Can we give ourselves a round of applause? You are looking beautiful. It should actually rain more, Honorable Premier, because seemingly the rain has brought everybody out. When Lars says this chamber, people are even standing up against the walls. So you really do love this Raymond Mhlaba chamber, ne? Do you love it? Yes. Seemingly our guests do not. Let me first start by acknowledging our guests in our midst. We are acknowledging, obviously, the presence of our Honorable Premier and the MECs, our kings and queens that is in our midst, our permanent delegates to the National Council of Provinces, the members of the judiciary led by the Acting Judge President in our presence, the members of the EXCO of the House of Traditional Leaders, Contralesa, the Khoi and San leadership that have been invited, the Contralesa Women Formation as well as IA, the religious leaders from the different faith-based organizations, the Muslim religious leaders that's in our midst, the African religious leaders, Kamaku, the Christian religious leaders, the acting president of the South African Council of Churches, Reverend Zukile Makula, that is with us, the leaders of the different political parties represented in the legislature, our sub-provincial commissioner, Ms. Mene. This time I did not miss you, ma'am, even though I cannot see you. Our DG that is with her there, Bishop Siwa. Welcome, Bishop. The Consul General, Mr. A.B. Collins from the UK, that is in our presence. I'm not sure it's sitting on my right, on my left. I don't even see a hand somewhere up there. Then the Consul General, Ms. Mileko Alexei from Russia. The African nations, where is that? Oh. The representative of the African nations of South Africa, Mr. Olatuji Abdul, that is in our midst. The speakers of the provincial legislatures, ministers and deputy ministers, our former Premier of the Eastern Cape, Comrade Pamula Maswale, that is with us, former ministers, that is with us, also our secretary to the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature and other secretaries of the provincial and national legislatures, the heads of the provincial public entities and heads of departments, the troikas of the district municipalities in our midst and the mayors of the local municipalities, the speaker and the mayor of Buffalo City Municipality, our host municipality, the ward committees of King Williamstown. Molweni, where are you? Yes, I can see them. Oh, all the hands up there, good. Representatives from COSATU, the South African Communist Party, SANCO, business leaders from the banking sector, the taxi industry, the disability machinery, women formations, as well as youth formations. Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 institutions, our entertainers, the SAPS Band, St. Patrick's Special School, and the Merrifield Marimba Band, they were really outstanding. Our corporate sponsors, which we will acknowledge, that is with us today, we will acknowledge them at the end. So those are our guests here today, and obviously all our honorable members in the House. Can you give yourselves a round of applause? Can we now request Mr. Mzansi, as the mace been lowered, because we will call upon Bishop Siwa, who will do a candle lighting ceremony and just take us through the process. Over to you, Bishop Siwa.
Honorable Speaker of the Legislature, Honorable Premier, and all the leaders and all the people gathered here, good morning. I light this candle in remembrance of all those who have died in the killings and massacres in our province, and those who died in our initiation schools, and those who perished on our roads. And so collectively, our thoughts go up to the Creator that the candle symbolizes, that the God of light, God of life, God was able to turn all things around. That light may shine in the hearts of those who are bereaved, and all of us may shine in the souls of those who have died. And so together, as I lead this brief moment, I ask that we all lift our thoughts and prayers to the one who is able to turn all things around. God of life, you are the creator, you are the sustainer, you are the eternal life. And so as we stand, as we sit, as we gather in this provincial legislature, we have full faith in you that you can turn all things around. Shine in the hearts and minds of our leaders, of our people, that indeed better life for all may be realized. Amen.
Thank you so much, Bishop Siwa. It's a touching moment for all of us.
Say you
Thank you so much. I think really those two young ladies deserve another round of applause. Noting that they could not wait, I think it is just proper that we just call the Honorable Premier in terms of Rule 17 of the Standing Rules to allow him to deliver the opening of his State of the Province address. Now we call upon the Honorable Premier, Honorable Mabuyane.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Phakamani ke nipeni ngohlala phansi. And she should know that there's nothing delicious without a cupcake or a tiger itself. Malibongwe. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Greetings to the Acting Judge President and the entire bench, members of the Executive Council, Deputy Speaker and members of the Provincial Legislature, members of Parliament, ministers, I've seen some, deputy ministers, our former premiers, Kwanini kuthiwe ukhona apha, ikumkani nekumkanikazi, inkosi nenkokheli zendlu yenkosi zalapha ephondweni, members of the diplomatic and consular corps, the leadership of SALGA, and mayors of our municipalities, the leaders of political parties. For sure, they are here led by the African National Congress. I think Nobala is here, of the ANC in this province. Religious fraternity, business, civil society, and labor. The Director General and heads of department and all government officials, the heads of Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 institution, our esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, molweni ephondweni, ingakumbi kwabo basimamele emakhaya kumakhasi onxibelelwano nakonomathotholo. Again, good morning to you all. Goeiemôre almal, dumelang, molweni ephondweni. Somlomo malungu alendlu ebekekileyo nabantu bephondo bonke ngokubanzi namhlanje silapha sizokudakanca intetho yobume bephondo yokuqala kulo rhulumente wesixhenxe. We gather here in this august house at a time when our country is still mourning the death of our 14 soldiers who died serving in a peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Amongst them is the son of the soil, Staff Sergeant William Kola. On behalf of our government here in the Eastern Cape and the people of the Eastern Cape at large, we want to reach out to his family by conveying our heartfelt condolences to the family. Our thoughts are with the family during this very, very difficult time. Honorable Speaker, this year marks significant events in the history of our struggle for freedom. It was 40 years ago when the people of our province lost their lives in Duncan Village and Langa Massacre at the hands of the apartheid police. It was also 40 years ago when our liberation struggle hero Utata Ujoe Nzingo Gqabi was assassinated in Zimbabwe, again by the agents of the apartheid government. We are reminding the House about these strategic or tragic events to highlight that we have not forgotten our people who paid ultimate price for the freedom that we are enjoying today. Honorable Speaker, we're delivering our State of the Province address inspired by the 70th anniversary of Freedom Charter, a blueprint developed by the people of South Africa to build a common future. We have made a significant gains in the last 30 years of democratic dispensation, and momentum is on our side to continue with that kind of work. Thus, we reaffirm that Eastern Cape's time to thrive is now. Honorable Speaker, one of the profound statements of the Freedom Charter is that, and I quote, "People shall govern." In preparing for this State of the Province address, we solicited the views from our people on the ground. Phaya kumakhasi onxibelelwano, uLethu Banya uyawuncoma umsebenzi esiwenzayo, kanti no-Aviwe Bhatai from the deaf community implores our government to broaden inclusivity by ensuring that persons with disability are appointed in government's institutions. Other citizens of this province provide us with good advice on how we would take this province forward. Agricultural economist Mr. Wandile Sihlobo wangapha eMampondweni constantly remind us about the potential of agriculture in our province. The business leaders such as CEO of Isuzu, Mr. Billy Tom, continuously assures us that the business sector supports our vision of building a thriving Eastern Cape. Religious leaders such as Bishop Emeritus Mbete offer us spiritual wisdom to serve the people of this province righteously. Kamafutshane abantu beluphondo bathi masisebenzise kakhulu leminyaka mihlanu izayo ukuthatha eliphondo lethu silibeke kwinqanaba elingasentla. Our social partners share the same sentiments during the 2023 Eastern Cape Development Convention. The roadmap for the 7th administration through the Provincial Medium-Term Development Plan, we will accelerate the realization of the provincial development goals by focusing on 3 interrelated strategic priorities, namely inclusive growth and job creation, reduce poverty and tackle the high cost of living, a capable, ethical, agile, and a developmental state. Honorable members, in the past 5 years, our province secured investment worth 200 billion. This is the baseline for us to get more investors in actually navigating our development trajectory in the next 5 years. Having said that, the global economy remains gloomy, and the Eastern Cape is not immune from the structural and geopolitical effects. The provincial economy's growth currently stands at 2.1%, which is still below the set target of 2.8% in 2025. Our initiative to drive economic growth to the desired levels include redirecting equitable share allocation to productive economic activities, prioritizing the frontiers of growth, namely agriculture, manufacturing, oceans economy, and digital economy, as well as tourism. Working together with our social partners, we grew the number of employed people in this province to 1,450,000 people in 2024. So that is not a small thing. We intend driving that work that we have started to 2.4 million by 2030. We believe this is achievable because Q4 labor force survey results indicate a significant decrease in the jobs or in the number of unemployed people by 20,000 in our province. We're henceforth scaling up the repurposing public employment programs to benefit over 600,000 people. A further 54,500 jobs will be created across the various economic sectors. Skills and the economy of this province as well as of this country is quite important. To create more jobs, we need to develop the skill set of our people. We are fundamentally transforming the entire skill sector ecosystem by rolling out training programs in partnership with various sectors to benefit more than 37,000 young people in programs such as artisan development, emerging contractors development, youth brigades in agriculture, entrepreneurship skills, as well as graduate incubation. Furthermore, we are now introducing a uniquely Eastern Cape project, the Basic Education Employment Initiative, which will benefit 28,000 unemployed youth throughout the province. For instance, we are going forward with the work of placing 180 young people living with disabilities on an assistant chef program to equip them with the culinary skills. This is a caring government of African National Congress in action. In responding, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, to the burden caused by historical debt, student debt, the Office of the Premier has partnered with MESITA to allocate 70 million towards student debt clearance. We're calling on qualifying students to get to their institution by the end of February 2025 to access this relief. Ayivulelekanga ke would understand but uMesita doesn't just fund every program, but we've actually made it very clear in the public. The success of all economies is a thriving entrepreneurship sector. In the past 5 years, the government has traded with the Eastern Cape-based business to the value of 43.8 billion. This is the baseline for the next 5 years, and we'll aim to surpass this figure. This is economic transformation in action, Honorable Minister, Small Business and Development. I thought she's around. Indeed. So that's the work that we are pushing very hard, knowing very well that we can move our economy forward. We can change the socio-economic outlook of our province by investing more in the SMM sector, and for us to be able to push our GDP growth to the 7 digits. Honorable Speaker, except for the Department of Health, we are currently at an average of 17 days with respect to the payment of suppliers, consistent with our resolve to ensure that service providers are paid within 30 days. We acknowledge the recent financial challenges experienced by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure that affected the payment of service providers. We have attended to that and found a solution to that matter, Minister of Small Business. I know that that one is very close to your heart. We welcome the announcement made by President that the national government will set up a transformation fund worth 20 billion to benefit black-owned businesses. The Eastern Cape Development Corporation will assist Eastern Cape-based businesses to tap into this fund. We are continuing with the program of funding youth entrepreneurs through government funding instruments. We are proud of Isikalo youth beneficiaries who are growing their businesses in various parts of our province. Kwakuhle Group in East London, which operates in the hospitality industry, won the Emerging Entrepreneur Award at the Boracay Chamber of Business Award last year. Mvolo Heights in Elliot, which specializes in the maize production, has expanded the clientele and is exporting to Mozambique and Botswana. Today, honorable members, we want to inform you that the youth of our province is actually benefiting out of Isikalo, and we are extending the support on Isikalo by 168 million over the next 3 years to support the young people and young entrepreneurs to develop their own enterprises. Honorable Speaker, we stated during the opening of the 7th administration, or 7th legislature in Dabangulu, that we will grow and transform our economy through our 5 growth frontiers. Agriculture remains our niche growth frontier to accelerate economic growth, employment, and food security. During this term, our focus will be on the massive support on the primary production, agro-processing, beneficiation, and developing value-added products. We will increase the export of our local produce high-value commodities such as citrus, deciduous fruits, and as well as the red meat, livestock, animal fiber, hemp, and cannabis to unlock thousands of jobs in our communities. We are currently supporting black-owned citrus and deciduous farms to increase the production and yields to 40,000 to 45,000 tons per season, respectively. Ndiyayazi bendifumene imiyalezo yamafama asakhasayo akhalazela into kokuba iproduce yawo kuyanyanzeleka into kokuba ayithengise ngamaxabiso asezantsi. Khona umfama bendibhalele walapha eCumakala ekhalazela loo nto. Siyacela ke the established business to work with us and do business in good faith. We want to support those emerging farmers. The province, honorable members, attracted Medigro as the first major investor in the cannabis sector. To date, 25 hemp small-scale holder farmers are participating in the commercial cultivation of hemp flower linked to Medigro offtake. We want to go to where the hemp and cannabis is rich. Our strategies are beginning to create that. That's why we made a call that nogo masibe no shwele pa mabaxolelwe abantu bakuthi bebekhe babanjwa ngaphambili bebanjelwa ukushishina kulo mcimbi we-cannabis phambi kokuba ibe semthethweni khona ukuze bona abantu bamanyani bebekhulisa abantwana besakha imizi besenza zonke izinto ngolushishino phansi kwemeko ezinzima xa ivulelekile ke ngoku bakwazi ukugqama ngakumbi. The 100 farms and the 10,000 hectares of irrigated land will be optimized to ensure increased production of local produced food through agro-processing and value addition. We want grain to be processed to samp, meal, and animal feed. We want poultry to be processed to eggs and meat. We want milk to be processed to dairy products and vegetables to be processed for fresh produce. All of this must happen inside the province to create jobs. Hence our focus now on agro-processing. We are partnering, honorable members, with Infrastructure South Africa and the World Bank towards the development of 10 irrigation schemes covering 10,000 hectares in Amatole, Krisiani, and Owar Tambo districts. The assenting of the Land Expropriation Act is a significant milestone in our country, which will ensure that land is used for our development needs. Title deeds have been handed to a number of our people, even those whom we are building houses for them. Sibanika a title deed so that they own that land parcel where they are. We are continuing with that. In the areas like Sarapatman, we have been relatively doing very well in Krisiani, particularly around Sakisizwe areas where many farms are. So we are moving with the program of land restitution and redistribution. Sicela ke nabo bayahamba besebeza ke kogxa bethu kwindawo ngendawo basebeze inyani. Phofu asiyisebezi lento siyayithetha kuba ikumgaqo siseko welilizwe. Umhlaba wabantu bakuthi funeka siubuyisele ebantwini bakuthi. Lento ke ye land expropriation without compensation mna mntu ukhulele ezilalini andiqali ukuyibona ngoku. Ibisenziwa pha ezilalini uba ngaba intsimi imokolo yakwenu ayilinywa iminyaka emithathu ibithathwa kuthiwa iqhonyiwe. Okwazi uyoyithatha ayirhafele ayilime ahamba yoyothula kwamantyi. So esi sankxwe ke sithethwayo sisankxwe nje ekuzawufuneka sisijongile. To date, 33 farms have been approved for transfer encompassing 19,843 hectares. Asuzubuya mva ke kule nto because this is fundamental. It talks to the hearts and minds of our people. Sidima sabantu bakuthi sikulo mhlaba, but lo mhlaba kuzawulandelwa umgaqo siseko welilizwe kuhlonitshwe imithetho yelilizwe. Kodwa asizukwazi uba sibe nemihlaba emikhulu apha enabantu abahleli kuwo onke lamazwe ehlabathi noba baseMelika noba base-Europe babe uinherite kootata babo asifunulwa. Siyayazi eminye imihlaba yayithathwe njani. Kwaphalala igazi ngokuthathwa kwemihlaba yabantu bakuthi. Sicela ke ingabe sithi who are extending an olive branch on this. I think let's be congruous. Let's meet somewhere to all people who subscribe and believe that South Africa is a country that belongs to all who live in it. Sithi abantsundu nabamhlophe mababulele kunye. Uba yenzeki loo nto sizawubathandazisa ngokwethu. Singurhulumente sizimisele ukusebenzisana nabantu ababuyekezwe umhlaba ukuze sibancedise kudaleke amathuba omsebenzi. Honorable members and our guests here, what has been painful about Eastern Cape ministers is that every time our people are being compensated on land claims, they want money. They don't want land. Land is a factor of production. You can only grow the economy when you work the land. So we are appealing to our people to understand that our government has put in place mechanisms to support and develop our people when they are being given their land back. Exciting news we are bringing to the people of our province today is that the National Department of Higher Education and Training has approved the establishment of the VET school at the University of Fort Hare. This has been a battle. We've been competing. Former Premier Maswale will speak at length about Premier activity. It has been actually under the discussion. We have pushed is one of those things that now we believe, and we've been saying, in South Africa, you can't have the high number of livestock, cattle, sheep, goats, chicken, pigs in Eastern Cape, but we don't have a vet school. We must have a vet school somewhere in Pretoria and all that. So now, as government, we are really transforming that part. Now the University of Fort is there. I was in Germany, I had a series of discussion with some tertiary institutions there and the provinces around this. They stand ready to come down and support us to set up that vet school. It's one of the most important interventions for our province as we drive the agriculture and its entire value addition and the value chain. The vet school will contribute to the improvement of livestock genetics, quality, and disease control, making our products more competitive in the export market. Ngibonile ingxaki yezifo ebezivela ezilwanyaneni. So ezo zifo sawukwazi ngokuba sibe nogqirha abakufutshane ne-university that will continuously deal with the research around that. Honorable members, another growth frontier we are focusing on is manufacturing, which is anchored in and on the automotive sector. In 2024 alone, we secured an investment of 11.4 billion from a private investor who committed to establish 29 new off-grid electric vehicles, charging stations in the next 5 years. So apha provincini ngokuxa uhamba awuzoba nangxaki uba uneza moto zichargewa ngombane. Ngoku benishatlishwa namhlanje, I know almost all our OEMs here, BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes, Chery, and others have actually sponsored those cars. Ungangayazi ke bazange ukukhwele kula moto into ihamba kamandi gqitha uyiva noba iyaduma. But beniziswa ngazo namhlanje ezo moto apha zinithutha kwindawo ngendawo. This will take our tally of electric vehicle charging stations in the Eastern Cape to 42 when we add the 13 government-funded charging stations. To date, we have opened 6 charging stations in East London. Gqeberha, Ekomani, Naselibode, Port St. John's, and Tsitsikamma. Akukho umuntu oza kuxakwa kukuqhuba imoto yakhe yombane kweli phondo. Kwikono kuyo nobuze emampondweni uyacharge xa ingathi ingcobo ikafakwa apha. Another investment worth 4 billion, which will create 1,500 jobs in our province, was secured by East London IDZ and AIDC, Eastern Cape, last year for a Chinese company planning to manufacture electric minibuses in our province. Asilelanga, siguqe ngamadolo. So esa sitishi siyafuneka pha eNgcobo. Asisifuneli bantu baseNgcobo, sifunani basecala. Neza ndawo zikwela cala. The auto sector aftermarket program, government will allocate the necessary funds to support auto body repairs and the cutting edge equipment in the main budget. We now have a clear plan designed to ensure sustainable empowerment of auto body repairers, which will also lead to improved service delivery through the government fleet. This year, Honorable Speaker, we're hosting the National Association of Automotive Component and Allied Manufacturers show here in 2025 in Gqeberha. We call on all component suppliers to take advantage of this platform. Khalazile phaya South African Auto Week. When we're celebrating 100 years since the first car was manufactured here in our country, that first car was done by Ford here in Eastern Cape. So there was no way that we will go and celebrate that in Western Cape. I went there under protest. Sivumelene ke kulo nyaka uba eza shows zika NAMSA sizawuziqhubela apha and to make sure that we are able to get our province as a national auto sector hub on its feet. Honorable members, the Oceans Economic Growth Frontier will open new sub-sector economic value chains and opportunities for our province. We wish to inform the people of our province that the National Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has begun the process of gazetting the Hamburg and Mbizana small harbors. The Port St. John's small harbor has now been proclaimed as a fishing harbor. Ngoku ngakuhamba uyokhwela inqanawe apha eHamburg ubheka eGqeberha uye kuhamba ngendlela uphinde ubuye ngenqanawe uthi khakhalala apha udlula ubheke ngapha emampondweni uzawufika ikhona apha ekulindele pha eMbizana napha eSajonis sinika abantu bakuthi amathuba okuqinisekisa into kokuba bayaxhamla kule industry. Government has allocated an initial amount of 10 million to support small-scale fishers with infrastructure such as cages and fishing boats. Additionally, we have been actually all out on the ground in ensuring that we appreciate this sector at its best. We have secured approximately 10 minutes also of Blue funding, which will be used to identify value chains and market channels for seaweed, abalone, and fishing farming. We intend to visit Greece and Italy with an intention to attract investors who can partner with us to unlock jobs in our oceans economy. We've got bunkering, it's a big economy. If you look at the Atlantic and Indian Ocean, there's a fleet of big ships that are moving down the Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, up to the Europe and the West. Those ships must be able to stop and be serviced in our deep water port here in Mucha. So the bunkering is coming all right. We had problems in the past with SARS on some of regulations. We have sorted that matter ourselves. We've been rolling our sleeves to ensure that that is done. Siyekile ukunika abantu bakuthi ngoku as a permit is all over because ibinayo element ye malicious compliance. Because xa umnika ipermit yoloba wogqiba uthi makaqhubeke eyi-black diver akazukwazi ukuyoloba. That's why bezawuzithatha eza permit bazithengisele abantu abalobayo abane-boats. Now xa sekunika ipermit funeka sikunika i-boat. Fight. We're gonna fight. Honorable members, at the beginning of the 7th legislature, we highlighted the digital economy as another growth frontier. We note that 65% of the Eastern Cape households have access to the internet coverage compared to the 25% in 1995. Working together with our partners, we continue to enable internet connectivity. We do this through the provision of ICT infrastructure and e-government system. Actually, our ultimate goal is to realize and experience e-commerce. If you look at companies called Alibaba and others in China, those companies have got global footprints simply because of the e-commerce. So we've got to deal with this issue. We are so strategic as a province, as a gateway to the international markets to deal with these issues. Dalbutle, I know you did a lot emampondweni. Ingathi icimile la program ngoku deputy minister. Adiyazi bayicime ndawoni. So you've connected a lot around Nyandeni as a pilot around Mzimvubu. Abantu bakuthi bakwazi ufumana access to internet in the comfort of their own rural household. That is called rural development. He was championing this program. Thank you very much. That department must continue with that work to ensure that our province, rural as it is, it benefits. Government has made significant strides, colleagues, to connect internet to schools, public health facilities, libraries. We must collectively ensure that these sites are used for what they are intended for. Into esingazukwazi uyenza kukuba sifakele i-broadband, Department of Education angayiconnect esikolweni. Kukuba sifakele i-broadband, Department of Health angayifaki esibhedlela. Kukuba sifake i-broadband, Department of Public Works angayifaki ezi-ofisini zikahulumende. MECs, on this one, you must come up very clear in your policy speeches. This is an issue which also has been flagged now also by Auditor General. We've got to work very hard that as Office of the Premier, we have done that work. Let's connect our people and make sure that collectively we ensure that these sites are used to benefit our communities, and they must be protected against any vandalism. We are expanding the province's industrial development and innovation ecosystem through the East London IDSS Science and Technology Park. In the past 5 years, the Science Park has trained over 983 beneficiaries in various skills, including automotive manufacturing assembly, renewable energy, digital forensics, cloud computing, additive manufacturing, and infopreneurship. So we doing this work, colleagues, to modernize and adapt to the changing world. Tourism is another growth frontier we have not fully optimized as this province. We are addressing the binding constraints such as roads and air transport infrastructure to boost our tourism sector. Honorable Speaker, we are happy to announce that the Airports Company South Africa will be spending an estimated 213 million in the next 5 years to improve access runway at the King Paulo Airport in East London. The Airports Company South Africa will also be spending 4.6 billion at the Davis Stirman International Airport in Gqeberha for runway rehabilitation. While we pursue this work, we will continue with our endeavors to operationalize the Bulembu Bisho Airport for international cargo transportation. Yekani uthetha yonke into le. Zawufika ibhaloni zami zihlale pha. Honorable Gowley, we're together. So we wanted to experiment and see Boeings can sit here. It has been painful to have Davis Stirman proclaimed as international airport, but there is no Boeing that can land. Kazim, Honorable Kazim, agreed. So now we are addressing that issue. Tourists must fly directly to our province, not fly somewhere. Ndiyanazi ke niyayithanda laa nto iqalise Western Cape, anizazi noba ningaba lapho noba ningaba ngapho umandi macala kuni. Thina abantu bangayi kwenye indawo sipheleleyo apha, sifuna izinto zenzeka apha ngendlela efanelekileyo bantu bakuthi. So this is the kind of work that we're doing, not forgetting the Mthatha Airport. You would understand the runway there has also been developed at some point, and we are also working with AXA to take over that airport from us as government so that we can get some bigger flights going that direction. It's expensive to have only that Airlink landing there. Many people of this province are residing on that other side. They deserve to land closer to their homes. So together, colleagues, it's a kind of work that we must do. Bisho Airport, Bulembu, it must be our international cargo hub. we said it must be prepared, MEC transport, even for this G20. Some people who don't want to land somewhere must land here. It can be made and be declared on a temporal basis as also an entry point to our country. We've done it with Department of Transport and all other relevant departments, SARS, for customs, as well as Home Affairs. So we want that. We are encouraged by the solid domestic tourism with an average of 6.7 million tourists in the past 5 years. Short left, let's tour our province, let's tour our country. Anuzuzinikwa ngoku nezovisa ngapha e-UK, John. Uyifumene la visa by-UK ngapha eMelika. Let us continue to explore the gems of our province, such as Mkambati, Tsitsikama, Hawksback, and others. We'll vigorously market and promote our province to international tourists. Our Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism agencies already identifying potential markets in the continent, BRICS, and G20 countries. And it's as esisililo singaka sikanehemi. Silileli market yabantu abaya less than 300 million. Kune market elapha India ye 1.4 billion. Neyase China engu 1.5 billion. Kuba siqhelile isiqhelo sayo yesingqondo. Ingathi kuzawube uze kube right, funeka sibheke ngapha ngasewest. Uba uyanga ngapha ingathi ikhona into erongo ngawo. Nini nodwa nishiyeke nodwa kulona inganibali kulonto. To attract and retain the international tourist, we are diversifying our product offering to include culture, sport, and heritage, which are endowments of our province. We will bid to host more sports events because they create jobs for our people. Ndiyayazi uba uminister this morning ebene meeting no MEC wakwa sports no mayor wase Buffalo City. Amongst others, very important issues abavumelene ngazo is to restore Orient Theatre back to its glory and start realizing the potential of boxing as the endowment that is in this part of this province. So we're quite happy with that. He's our friend, Minister McKinsey. God uyafuna ulandelelwa. Athanda uthetha izinto ezi. Athanda uthetha okugabshunqu. Fiyafuna simlandelele. Siyofika naye ekugqibeleni, colleagues. He has been very responsive. He has been very showing a good heart for our province. So it's important that we look at the sport as the economy on its own to improve our tourism. That's why we need more teams to feature in the Premier League. That's a big business. If you have got many teams that are playing in the Premier League and those teams are able to come to play here, that improves our tourism a lot. Our province is endowed with talent in various sporting codes. Ronwen Williams became the first South African footballer to be nominated for the Ballon d'Or Yashin Trophy. This first South African to win the best goalkeeper of the year in Africa and the best interclub player of the year in 2024. Ons wens Ronwen Williams hartelijk geluk met sy onlangse prestasies. Nazok. Ek is gevaarlijk om Afrikaans te praten. Nani nizivele. Ons wens Ronwen Williams hartelijk geluk met sy onlangse prestasies. We are calling on municipalities to ensure that sports facilities are adequately and regularly maintained to support grassroots sports development. Mayors, yasihlebisa man. Makakwenziwe i-sport facility njengola hlobo kwenziwe ngalo phaya emalahleni eLady Frey ndike ndasibona isipoti pha nangola hlobo kwenziwe ngalo phaya kucende katyani eMbashe mayiphele into yamabala aye kwesithubeni singayazi ba kutheni eye kwesithubeni. When a company doesn't perform, cancel that contract early enough, appoint a capable company to do the work, because this is a problem. Our kids want these facilities for extramural activities. It's going to be important that we do that. We have seen a number of these municipalities coming all right. The beautiful sporting ground in Mbizana. I like that derby as Mbizana. Yes, Nenkani and our team. So they are playing in a beautiful a pitch that has been developed. Municipalities, let's go all out to address this problem and correct these kind of issues. Creative arts and film production also contributes immensely to job creation. Gqeberha the Empire introduced us to new acting talent in our province. We must nurture that talent and keep it working inside our province. Government has issued an expression of interest call to film producers and broadcasters to apply for funding that we are able to make it available in our province. We've allocated about 30 million to fund emerging artists and film developers. To strengthen our efforts of growing the provincial economy, our special economic zone, Kucha and East London, IDZ, are poised to attract more investors in the next 5 years. Last year, Kucha welcomed San Miguel, a lemon processing and extraction plant that exports to 50 countries. That is an investment of 490 million in our province, which has led to 120 permanent jobs creation. When stats is saying something good is happening in Eastern Cape, it's not because it's a fluke, it's a clear plan that we are meticulously following to ensure that we bring down the high unemployment statistics in our province. And we've been actually on that downward spiral trend to make sure that we create jobs and we reduce high unemployment in our province. We are working hard on the eastern part of the province for the West Coast SZ. I'm happy that Department of Water Affairs has now processed the water rights license to that SZ or the agri-parks that we're developing. Now we're going to be rolling out the bulk infrastructure to ensure that there's been companies that have been ready with investments worth more than 2 billion for offtake agreements in that Mthatha Wild Coast SZ. And we're doing it in the context of the Eastern Seaboard. We want to see the development of that area engazange yabonwa mntu ngaphambili. The whole area going down to Port St. John's. Hence, we will never leave the idea of Port St. John's being a smart city. So whether it is done in the context of Eastern Seaboard, we need to see the Ichapaza, Port St. John's. In the last 5 years, the East London IDs had attracted just over 9 billion worth of investment from 23 new investment. The East London IDZ is spreading its wings to Ntabozuko to set up facilities for activities in agro-industries, advanced manufacturing, and automotive sector. Honorable Speaker, let me indulge the House on the work we are doing to enable conducive environment for economic growth and jobs creation in our province. We are harnessing the potential of oil and gas resources for the benefit of our province. We have an estimated offshore the bounty exceeding 200 trillion cubic feet of prospective shale gas in the Karoo, which is poised to unlock significant economic opportunities. We are supporting this groundbreaking research covering the Sarabatman, Amatole, and Christiani districts, as led by Petroleum Agents of South Africa. After the gazetting by the Department of Minerals and Resources, ukhona apha Dr. Saide. Where is Dr. Saide? Nangia, kuye opha kula phasa. And angeke aphinda aphuncuke njengoba ndimzise apha namhlanje. Amfunela inxiwa apha. This is rich, but that includes the exploration that is being done. They're regulating that space. The exploration that is being done by big companies, whether it's Shell, into ekufuneka siyenzile kukuba sisebenze nabantu bakuthi, solid social facilitation. Shell says, by just bringing that ship that was going to do the seismic exploration in Wild Coast, they spent more than 2 billion. They couldn't do that because they've been chased away by the Greenies, anti-development posture. Nabo judge. Or judge kanga bati makunga develop papa. Kanga bati makungenziwa exploration. But bati makunga shua abantu aba ngasemva xa kwenziwa ezinto ezi. That's a sustainable development. So judge, ezinto nizibona emazweni sifuna uzibona apha judges. Funeka lo mcimbi we-development so sondeze ezinhliziyweni. Siyacela kulo mcimbi. Into esingazoyivumela kuba kusuka abantu ngapha eEurope or US bafike bathi akuzudeveloper eWild Coast, as if we are reckless. We're talking of sustainable development. We talk of nature conservation. We're going to protect that nature conservation. I did an operation recently on this arm. Painful story that I got from the doctor was that what they were trying to put here is made out of titanium. Titanium. But we are ordering this piece, this equipment from US. They don't have titanium. They get it from us. It goes out of this country as a raw material. Doctors must go and buy it from that side. Cobalt Belt and all these others, they are here in Africa. We must start looking at this issue quite seriously to reindustrialize, localize the beneficiation, and get ours. Ngosi sagqothwayo pha masike sijonge apha basingenza ntoni ngoku. Singabe silila basigcwele yonke ithafa ngathi sizinkomo ezithiwa zizibawo kuba sigqothwe ngapha e-US. Honorable Speaker, let me re-emphasize this point. It's important that we create this conducive environment for growth and job creation in our province. We are sick and tired of us getting all over the world and the country for greener pastures when we have got such an unparalleled potential as a province. It can't be right. We're a province that is endowed with 3 ports. It's a huge economic infrastructure that you need. So it's going to be important that we really put an extra effort on that, working with our municipalities. We are harnessing the potential of oil and gas, as I've said, and I'm quite happy that the work that is being done by the research team and all that, it must be taken to its logical conclusion. Our primary research findings indicate that the Eastern Cape has a resource base that can generate 3,000 megawatts of gas to power, to energy, to the national grid. Let us embrace this opportunity with both innovation and responsibility, transforming our province into another something that has never been seen before. We can be this gas hub, energy hub, pharmaceutical hub, as we are an auto sector hub. That is possible. Let us embrace these opportunities with both innovation and responsibility, transforming our province into a key player in the national and regional energy landscape. Over the past term, Honorable Speaker, we've made various commitments on critical transport and economic infrastructure in this august house. The Gauteng Eastern Cape High Capacity Rail Corridor has now received budget allocation towards realizing the dedicated rail corridor for automotive volumes between Gauteng and Eastern Cape. BMW is manufacturing in Gauteng. They are all willing to come down here in the clean port of Gqeberha to take their cars out. Ford is actually exporting more than 80% of what they manufacture also in Gauteng. They want this. Thank you very much to national government that finally, after this push we've been doing, this investment has been concluded. It's a 7 billion investment which will create the capacity of more rail moving between Gauteng and the Eastern Cape. Apho siyakhona, siyakula mcimbi wesibhedrini. You see, when we met with the team from China, where they manufacture this speed train, they say 250 kilometers with a speed train can be traveled in 30 minutes. That simply means you can stay in East London and work in Gqeberha. Wake up here, go work, after work, come back home. We travel the whole night and day. We don't sleep. So this is what we are also discussing with them, looking at those possibilities. But also that says the train can move between East London and Mthatha. It's the same equidistance. And then that then makes our province no longer this province that we think is vast, uncontrollable, difficult to work on. As you see that we are working hard on the road infrastructure to integrate our province. So thank you very much, national government, on that, and we are going to monitor it. We are putting it under microscopic view, and because we want it, and that this will enhance our export capacity and reduce reliance on road transport. In this quarter, we had a multiple engagement with Transnet to establish a strong monitoring and evaluation mechanism to ensure that multi-billion rand commitments by Transnet to Eastern Cape are done and are realized. The construction of 2 billion liquid bulk berth announced by the President Ramaphosa in the construction summit will be the litmus test of this collaboration later this year. This would immediately be followed by the new liquid bulk terminal in the port of Ngqura. Our call for increased investment by Transnet is aimed at optimizing trade logistics to support regional growth and facilitate global trade connection. These ambitious projects include the 22 metric ton capacity Ngqura Manganese Export Terminal, the 13.1 billion liquefied natural gas import terminal, and the deepening and widening of the port of East London to solidify our position as a gateway to Africa and the world. As we are both disaster prone, Eastern Cape and KZN. If disasters hit hard in KZN, the whole N3 corridor becomes a risk in the entire economy of the country. So here, we've got open space. So this is the work that we have met with Transnet. In the last 2 months or so, we have met 3 times. I'm no longer now leaving it to anyone. I'm just putting here in front of me to make sure that these projects that should have been done in the last 20, 15, 10 years are now done. I'm quite happy that in our meeting with Transnet, Transnet has detailed clear action plan with time frames. Yes, of course, we do understand the challenge they are going through of the balance sheet. But I'm quite also happy that they've now gone out to the market to see to it that we are able to mobilize the public-private partnership to make sure that these projects take off. The time for Eastern Cape to thrive is now. Our call for increased investment by Transnet is aimed at optimizing trade logistics to support regional growth and facilitate global trade connection. These ambitious projects include this 22 metric ton that I've just spoken about. And we are going to make sure that we are moving forward. Energy security is fundamental to unlocking the potential of the Eastern Cape's economy and uplifting the lives of our citizens. We are committed to seeing the Nguza, the Nguha liquid bulk program, that it must come to fruition. While we encountered challenges and delays, we are working tirelessly to achieve the delivery of these investments. We are on course to deliver the Hive hydrogen projects in collaboration with Northern Cape and Western Cape in green energy investment. This is a 100 billion project we've spoken about. The best ready site for this Hive is here in Nguha. And we agree with Northern Cape. Whilst they're busy working on a Buchebai, we agree with Western Cape, while they are busy working on a Saldanha and all that, but the best site. That's why we were in Qatar with the Minister, Dr. Ramokgopa. That's why we were in Japan in December. This is a site that must see to it that as South Africa ventures into this sector. This will create new industries and opportunities for our people. The efficient transmission of power is as vital as its generation. As the country prepares for the 2,500 megawatts nuclear build program, we reiterate our call that the Tainspan site is ready to receive the investment. Again, the time for Eastern Cape to thrive is now. When people ask, where are we going to create jobs? These are sectors that have everything, research done, that are ready to deliver jobs for our people. We just want national. Time to procrastinate is now over because procrastination is the thief of time. Honorable members, another key economic enabler is the road network. As we committed in the Eastern Cape Infrastructure Plan, our road construction program is connecting the strategic economic corridors of our province, which are N2, N6, N9, N10. Nobu hamba because noba ufuna ubona uzawubona ngenkani because sakugalela ku stop and go. We are working on these roads, improving these roads, working with an entity of government under the leadership of ANC called Sandra. We're working with Sandra. Nobu bheka pha inceba uphinde kuthiwa xa kunetha uba uwelwe ngamatye so abamba nqaku phantsi phezulu amatye soze aphinda endawo. So we're working on these roads, colleagues, to make sure that we improve logistics in our province. And there's a great work that is being done. You know, I won't say much about the number of roads that we're doing. As you know that we're upgrading so many roads around the Eastern Cape. Our mega projects such as Msikaba Bridge, Mtendu, and Ndabakazi Interchange are progressing very well. Working with Sandral, we are making a total investment of 50 billion for more road infrastructure projects in the next 5 years. This investment will build road infrastructure in key routes such as R61, R72, R58, R71, R410, SANRAL is working on a number of key economic routes, whether it's Junction, Tsolo, Ntwenka, up to Ngangahu. SANRAL has taken the road that we have given them, called T15, that connects KwaBhaca naseMatatiele. We are working from Matatiele to Cedarville. It's a billion project that takes you down to Kokstad. Since the billion project, this is another 800, more than 800 million investment, because we want to make it easy as we are changing this. So whether you go Sarabatman on the other side, I come to the open endleleni athi hayi kuse Eastern Cape ngapha indlela nje kuse Western Cape ngapha indlela nje okay wenza lonto umfanga intonga mfana senza lonto. We are working on that to make sure that the road infrastructure of this province is actually moving to another level. In addition to these roads, in the next financial year, we'll be gazetting 600 kilometers of our roads, many of them gravel roads, which we are going to upgrade with SANRAL for the benefit of communities. These roads include the T15 Tetengaye and so a number of other roads. Ukuquka indlela esuke Tsomo ibheke eCumakala, isuke eCumakala ibheke eQoboqobo, isuke eQoboqobo ibheke eXesi. Kanti mfundisi amagqunu kwebo baxelela ba uSANRAL usebenza kulandlela. Le ndlela isuka apha eDurban ibheke ezigodlo ihambe iyosisondeza ngapha eMakhanda. So zindlela yinxalenye yendlela uSANRAL esivene nayo ngaze azithathileyo, almost more than 10 roads that SANRAL will be working on them. These are rural roads ezenzeka. Ndiyayazi ke umuntu ose KSD unomnqweno woyazi nasembhashe into ba xa usuka eBhazia okanye usuka eTabasa okanye usuka eXhongorha uhamba usiya eMgqumo, ithini umcimbi walandlela? Kumcimbi ke usubambileyo lowo. Xa usuka eMgqumo uwelela ngaphesheya usiya eXhorha, uthini umcimbi walandlela? Ndiyayazi bangaba sikathethi ngendlela yaseThafalofefe esuka eBika inqumle yoma kucendana ezantsi asikathethi. Siyayenza indlela apha kuGatyana. Siku second phase wayo ngoku. Esuka kuGatyane ekusa ezantsi elwandle edwesa Cwebe. Ba ukayi phaya hamba mbobona uzawubona izinto zamehlo. So SANRAL will be working on a number of roads. It's going to conclude that part aseyiqalile. Siyisebenza usuka eStainsburg izonqumla ku-N6 ibheke iNdwe ibheke eDordrecht ibheke eEliot ihle ibheke eNqanqarho naseXokwengi ibheke eMatatiele. Uzawudibanisa le ndlela ngoku isuka eAlvan iza apha eEliot. Ndiyayazi abantu baseSterkspruit bafuna uyazi ba laa ndlela irehabilitatwa nini le isuka eLady Grey ibheke eSterkspruit, because laa ndlela ivuthiwe ifana nalaa ndlela isuka eNgcobo iqabela kuSathane ibheka eEliot. Ezaa ndlela zonke zikwirada. We are working on them. Zikhona uSANRAL angakwazi ukuzithatha indlela senza amacebo ngazo. We are discussing the front loading, pledging with Treasury to get those roads done as a matter of urgency. That include indlela esuka ku-R61 inqumle kuMabele Ntombi ibheke eNcorha ibheke kuManzimda ibheke kuManzimdaka eCala igqitha kuMthingwefu iyohla kuManzimdaka iyongena eCala. Yenye yendlela ezibalulekileyo ekufuneka sizenzile. So we are connecting those roads. Nasemapondweni bafuna indlela esuka eSiphaqeni ebheke eNtabankulu, because ayikho indlela edibanisa iNtabankulu neFlagstaff. So these are roads that we are mapping out, that we are working on them to make sure that we are dealing with that. Mampondo niyayazi ndoba i-8 billion leyifakwe pha ku-N2 highway. Singeka igqibe nalandlela. Sele kokhiwe ihotele pha ngasemkhambad, a 5-star hotel investors that are responding into that adjacent to the interchange that we are doing. Umsika uqhuba kakuhle. Those are bridges that we have never seen in the country, probably in the continent. Siyacela ke intsebenziswano. Into engazukwenzeka kukumiswa kweproject ezisebenzayo zimiswe. Indlela esuka kwaBhaca ebheka emaXesibeni yenye ibhillion. Esuka kwaBhaca ebheka emaXesibeni yenye ibhillion. Asinoba nayo stop and go wokokuba kuzomiswa umsebenzi wokukhiwa kwendlela. We need these roads as of yesterday. I'm talking about roads that we are now working on them. Sandral has awarded indlela esuka enyanga esikolweni ihambe iyodibanisa la ndlela isembhashe ibheka eMthatha. Utsho ube nendlela esuka eMthatha smooth from Mthatha to Ngcobo la 80 km uphaya uzamuhamba nge30 minutes ungamva. Njengendlela esuka apha ebheka eGqeberha uyabona mosipa fighter ka ugodo kuba siqhekeza intaba apha engqushwa. And ubone ba ingqushwa ubone kwenzeka ungalahleki ba. Siqhekeza intaba apha udibanisa la ndlela ebheka emakhanda. We are working on roads. Siyawuqonda umcimbi wendlela ubuthathaka unobuzaza because Eastern Cape yalityalwa kudala yahlukunyezwa ngamakolonial ngabantu be-apartheid. We are starting from the low base. But I want to assure our people that we are getting there. We have awarded a road that moves out of N2. Isuke inqumle emunyu. Iye eBholoto, iye kuSilityiwa, iye kuMbanga. Ibheke eClarkbury ihambe iyongena eNkondlo. Phase 1Y. Phase 2 uzawuhamba iyongena eMjanyana esibhedlele. Siyi-awardile ke leyo indlela ngo-327 million. Uzayicacisa ku-MEC ngexesha eli-right. We are working on Welisizwe bridges. Those Welisizwe bridges are meant to help us so that singabi nabantwana abaphinde bawele kwiibhorho ezinobungozi xa besiya ezikolweni. We've got 35 bridges allocated. We are concerned about the turnaround time. The issue of us working with public works, working with SANDAF, because national ministers, please, national ministers, the decision that has been taken that we are compelled, the decision that has been taken that we are compelled to work via public works. Tina Eastern Cape, we started these bridges, these built bridges before Welisizwe program. So we wanted to be exempted in that so that we can fast track lendo wenziwa kwendlela ne bridges. In the Eastern Cape, you must work between April and October, build bridges and roads. If you don't do that because of the climate change, you will find it difficult. Ukwenziwa kwezonto. Undithembisile uba le ndlela indilalisi uMEC Nqatha that la ndlela yaseQueenera umcimbi wayo uqalanye. Aba bantu abahlala pha abakhalazayo la ndlela yaseQueenera izawufakelwa itha ngokukhawuleza besebenzisana kwakunye neBuffalo City on that. Madam Speaker, we welcome the allocation of 940 billion to boost infrastructure development in the country as announced by the President. During his sonor. As a province, we will tap into this financial injection to reinforce further infrastructure development in our province, particularly for the Wild Coast, SZ, and other industrial parks. Honorable Speaker, let me share with you how we are contributing to lowering the cost of living by investing in social infrastructure for the benefit of our people. Last year, we handed over 255 houses to families who were previously farm dwellers in Statarem, Katbek. Among the beneficiaries was a child-headed household comprising 4 siblings who lost their parents. We want people to stay closer to their workplaces of work, to improve productivity, but also deal with this high cost of living for our people. In 2025-2026, honorable members, financial year, government will deliver 4,970 breaking new ground housing units and 4,350 serviced sites in all our regions. In the next 5 years, we are investing 4.3 billion to build 26,400 houses in the In executing this work, we'll ensure that organs of state source building material from black industrialists. The development of office precinct to bring government services closer to our people is taking shape and will also unlock social and rental housing investment. It gives me, Honorable Speaker, great joy to announce to the House to the people of our province that planning and procurement for the construction of the Bishop Office Precinct has finally been completed. Premier Maswale, we have been battling with this thing for years. So it's been finally completed and construction will commence in this year, 2025 and 2026 financial year. Ibisho izakuba yinto enhle eningazange nayibona kule minyaka izayo. Ubonile ngosibuza bebisho uhamba uyaphithizela ngapha ngezantsi apha. Nento ongaboni nina futhi into ezicacileyo. The construction of Emaxesibeni Block A and Mkanduli cluster offices are at 70% and 75% completion respectively. Building on the success of our small town revitalization program in areas such as Ndabankulu, we are expanding the small town revitalization program to Amahlati, Emalahleni, Ntsikayetu, Makanda, and Ngoshwa local municipalities, which will benefit from additional investment of 419 million. We are applying for more funds from the budget facility for infrastructure upgrade to make sure that we do so many towns, small towns for this in order to lure and attract investors. Honorable members, in our province, 95% of households have access to electricity. Overall, we connected 16,446 households in this financial year alone, thus improving the quality of life of our people. Ndingabalula iKhutsonga Matatiele, iTrakwa eMhlonhlo, iValencia eSundays River Valley kunye neMidford eEnoch eMgijima. In the 2025-2026 financial year, government will make a further investment of 430 million for the electrification of 8,981 households throughout the province. Siyaqhubeka. Siyazi ukuba kukho indawo ezingekabi nawo amanzi nendawo ezinempompo ezingaphumi manzi. Sikwiphulo lokuzisombulula ezingxaki sisebenza kwakunye nesebe lakwa-Water Affairs and Sanitation nomasipala bethu. Having said that, the 7th administration will increase the number of households with access to pipe water from 80% to 90% by 2030. To fulfill this commitment, a municipal infrastructure grant totaling 3.5 billion will be directly allocated to municipalities for water reticulation. 2 weeks ago, government launched the Ilubisi water treatment works, which will enable the provision of sustainable water to more than 90,000 people in the communities of Krisiani district. Ndiyathemba ke ndimvile umongameli welizwe esithi umsebenzi uyaqhuba eNtabelanga Dam. iNtabelanga ke yinxalenye yela dam elikhulu lingumzimvubu. Siuqala ngenye iphase yaseNtabelanga eyi-8 billion. That dam is too big. It will be done in phases. I know business has shown an interest to come in and participate into that space, particularly on the hydropower as well. So that dam will definitely solve the problems of more than 700,000 households that are struggling in Joe Gabi, Alfred Nzo, as well as OR Tambo. We'll ensure that the 11 regional bulk infrastructure projects, such as Ndlambe bulk water supply, Stegspruit regional water, wastewater treatment works, Greater Mbizana regional bulk water scheme, which are currently under construction, are completed during the 7th term. This will increase the sources of water for the benefit of our people. Fellow citizens, the Freedom Charter states that, and I quote, the doors of learning and culture shall be open for all, close quote. We have ensured equitable access to education through implementing transformation programs such as no-fee schools, school nutrition, and scholar transport. Please join me in applauding the matric class of 2024 for achieving a record-breaking of 84.98% pass rate. A historic achievement for the Eastern Cape since the dawn of democracy. This is a massive improvement from 56.8% we achieved 10 years ago. On the strength of this achievement, we have set ourselves an even higher target of 90% pass rate by the end of this term. Well done to our learners, all our education stakeholders who supported the efforts of government in implementing our education turnaround plan. Xa sithi siyaliphucula izinga lemfundo yabantwana bethu, asibale isintsomi emini. This is the reminder of the famous words of Amilcar Cabral when he said, and I quote, "Tell no lies, claim no easy victories." We are now ranked 3rd nationally for producing bachelor passes, meaning more of our learners are gaining access to higher education. Honorable MEC Gade, I was told that the best teacher of mathematics in South Africa is from Sokhayisa in Motherwell. Best teacher. Honorable Kazim, Uko? In mathematics, not maths lit, mathematics. And umfoka Mtyengizane, I'm going to tell you now. Umfoka Mtyengizane ngwalapha eMthatha, uphaya eMotherwell. We have ensured equitable access to education through implementing transformation programs such as no-fee schools. And we are moving with that, colleagues, to change the situation for good in our province. We are now ranked 3rd, as I've said, on bachelor passes, and we are doing a great work seeing the performance in the subjects like mathematics, physical science, life science, etc. For instance, last month we launched an aviation school in Port Alfred. We are training an initial group of 25 learners as pilots, engineers, and air traffic controllers, empowering them with skills to work anywhere in the world. This caring government, led by African National Congress in the Eastern Cape, is taking full responsibility for the payment of their studies with a total investment of 35 million at 1.4 million for each child. Ubufuna usuze ANC abe-Eastern Cape yemntwini awukazulunga ngo. Umbewu yethu umbewu wasegcuwa ngomnye wabafundi abaxhamlayo kule nkqubo. Izawusuka apha to wayibamba udiya. Umbewu yethu awumazi ba what how many blacks ngabantu abasuka kwizikolo zakuthi abafakileyo. Uzayibamba apha athi wayifunqula ugcwanini esingise eGauteng. Nihleli ibantu zakuthi ngaphakathi ningathandabuzi. Unyana lo uzabe eqhuba ibhaloni womntu obengenanto. Abantu abangazange banikwa thuba lokokuba bangangabantu bamanyani apha eSouth Africa. Only ANC government who can do that. Ayikho enye into. Ezintsomi zithethwa ngabanye abantu azokhupha nje impondo apha. As we celebrate the achievement of the class of 2025, I want to salute the principals of schools that have walked the hard road from low performance base to high performance base, especially schools in our rural hinterland. Schools such as EFATA Special Schools for the Blind and Deaf in Mthatha, which improved from 60% pass rate in 2023 to 90% pass rate in 2024. We are now focusing on lifting all the schools that are performing below 60% pass rate. Sifuna skolo is less than 80% pass rate. Skolo zethu zonke ziyepa. Somlomo amaXhosa athi bagotywa besebatsha. I think abeSuthu bathi nitheni anindithemba ngana abeSuthu abathi na thupha ikobuwa isalimezi andinawuyazi loo nto. In this time, we will be improving access to quality and inclusive early childhood development. We are paying special attention to addressing barriers to entry for children in the deep rural areas and children with special needs. To show our commitment to this policy imperative, we are investing 10 billion in early childhood development over the next 3 years, as this is a game changer. Our province has 45 special schools providing services to 10,500 learners. Over the next 3 years, the government has set aside 100 million for provision of services to special schools. Sinyusa isantya kwinkqubo yokwakhiwa nokulungiswa kwezikolo kule minyaka mihlanu izayo. Between now and 2030, we are going to build and refurbish 138 schools in our province to improve learning environment for our people. This is an investment of 7.4 billion, which will benefit learners in all districts of our province. The schools are going to build and refurbish include the Tonga Junior Secondary School in Amatole, Mhlonhlo Junior Secondary School in Jogabi, Lupindo Senior Secondary School in Alfred Nzo, Bazindlovu, Ekoloku in Christiani, Kayaletu Special Schools in Buffalo City, Hillbrook Senior Secondary School in OR Tambo, David Livingston Secondary School in Nelson Mandela Metro, and Hendrik Canis Combined School in Sarabatman. Just mentioned a few. Madam Speaker, the Freedom Charter also states that a preventative health scheme shall be run by the state. The Freedom Charter. Our health care programs has been a significant improvement in the provision of access to primary health care. With 490 primary health care centers meeting the set norms and standards for the ideal clinic status in preparation for the implementation of National Health Insurance Act. This legislation is critical for the transformation for the healthcare system. Our HIV and AIDS response shows significant strides towards ensuring that by 2030, 95 people who are HIV positive know their status. 95 people of those who tested positive are on treatment. 95% of those that are on treatment have their viral load suppressed. This is the kind of work to ensure and guarantee the longer life expectancy to our people in the province. We're establishing 11 cerebral pulse centers of excellence. We are with a budget of 131 million for strengthening treatment to mitigate medical claims. In our province, life expectancy is at an average of 64%, an improvement from 50 and less in a number of years before 1994. So we are doing work to make sure that we are dealing with that issue. We are protecting our people from these illnesses by investing 7.1 billion in the in this 7th term. We're putting in place medium-term contracts to schedule maintenance of faulty generators, aircons, and lift our health facilities. Somlomo, lo hulumende uqhubela phambili ngomsebenzi wokuphucula izakhiwo zamaziko empilo. This is to improve the experience of both our communities and the dedicated healthcare workers who serve them. Work is progressing very well on 3 mega hospitals, a combined investment value of 2 billion. Is Tulele at 1 billion. Emkanduli, okanye eXhorha, zidibene kula ndawo. Sibhedlele sisakha pha, sokha ibambisani elusikisiki. Londi sokha ibambisani ngaphaya ePort St John's edibanisa elusikisiki ngemali evakalayo. Ngemali eqabeleyo ku 500 million. Sokhe imadwaleni ngapha eXhorha. We are investing the further 3 billion over the next 5 years for the construction of new clinics and rehabilitation of existing health facilities. Finally, we are also dealing with Greenville Hospital in Bizana, which will be upgraded at an investment of 441 million in 2 phases. Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital Oncology Unit and critical projects for the treatment of cancer patients is under construction at the value of 416 million in Mthatha. Bayeke abantu baseMthatha uziswa eMonti naseGqeberha bangakwazi utreatwa icancer phaya kwela cala. Honorable members, we understand the challenges in our public health system. In response to this, we have established an intervention team led by the Director General comprising the Office of the Premier, Provincial Treasurer, and National Department of Health. The success of this intervention should yield the filling of all the critical vacancies. The Minister of Finance promised me, before that he will be addressing lo mcimbi wakwa health wogqirha phaya kwesa speech neminye imicimbi ebibalulekile sawulinda yena ke kuba lo mcimbi wakwa health nemali uyingxaki. Fellow citizen, the late President O.R. Tambo once said, the children of any nations are its future. The social security system ensures protection of the rights of children through the child-related grants, which covers up to 2 million children. The total contribution of social grants in the province now stands at 34.8 billion per annum. We are pushing back frontiers of poverty. This is the ANC government in action. The major contributing factor to food insecurity and malnutrition is the high cost of basic foodstuff. We are implementing a green revolution under the theme, One Household, One Garden, to encourage every household and community to produce food in every available piece of land. We will accelerate capacitation of households with vegetable, grain inputs and poultry production, as well as climate smart food production system targeting 100,000 beneficiaries. Madam Speaker, let me transition now to how we are building the capacity of the state. We are ensuring that all government work is people-centered, spatial referenced, and the tangible impact on people and their communities. There is an evidence that our support to local government is yielding results. Out of 39 municipalities in our province, now 20 of them are on unqualified audit outcome, with 6 now moving with the new clean audits. But more importantly, the expenditure of the municipal infrastructure grant improved from 39% in the 2022-2023 to now 61% in 2023-2024. We need 100% mayors. We need performance in this. You are at the cold face of the development and service delivery to our people. We have identified Buffalo City Metro, Nelson Mandela Metro, Amatole, O.R. Tambo, Christiani, and the others as the 14th municipalities declared to be distressed. We are working with them to make sure that we support them and move them out of that. Honorable members, traditional leaders are an important stakeholder of the ANC-led provincial government. Government recognize Amampondomise Kingdom, and senior traditional leaders from different administrative areas across. The Investigative Committee on Traditional Leadership Claims is working hard to resolve dispute. Ndiyanicela ke abantwana begazi, imicimbi yobukhosi nesizwe mayiphathwe ngobunono, ixoxwe likhaya, hayi inkundla zomthetho. Soon, I will be appointing the acting king Yamampondo asempuma. Kuba ngumcimbi ekudala kujikelezwa ngawo. We wanted to exhaust any consultation around that. The Government of National Unity has identified building capable and ethical state as a development priority towards 2030. This mandates the strengthening of the ecosystem of government to be a vehicle for the realization of the provincial medium-term development plan. The seventh administration is therefore committed to changing negative perception about government through improving people's lived experiences, professionalization of the public sector, and programs that include integrated communication. We have maintained an active monitoring of conflict of interest in the province. Wonke umuntu ophula umthetho in fighting corruption, consequence management must apply, and we are doing that without fail. Building a cohesive society is a moral responsibility of all South Africans. I'm pleased to inform this House that this year we will host the National Commemoration Human Rights Day to mark the 40th anniversary of the Langa Massacre. Honorable members, the Freedom Charter also said there shall be security and comfort for all in this great nation. We're enhancing our efforts through the implementation of social crime prevention programs, focusing on stock theft, drugs, and gangsterism. We commend the police for making arrests in some of the mass killing incidents that happened in Gqeberha, Lusikisiki, Qumbu, Katyana, Mthatha. The law must take its course. Uba ukhupha isibhamu epolisini dibana nesibhamu. Masingabi namapolisa aswelekayo ngenxa yezaphula mthetho nezigwinta. Siyayibukela la nto yenzeke phaya eButterworth yesterday. Siyayincoma. Into engazokwenzeka izawuphela apha eEastern Cape into basibe nabantu abajewu sisibhamu ezikhulu phakathi kwabantu. Provincial Commissioner, these funerals aba bantu abanje fakwe NIU pha no TRT. Umuntu makabheke esingcwabeni engumntu enganaphethanga kwasibhamu. Singaphinde sibone kwamntu odubule esingcwabeni apha eEastern Cape edubule into esingayaziyo esingcwabeni. In support of the gender-based violence, Honorable Speaker, and femicide intervention, government has set aside approximately 225 million over the next 3 years. There were 119 life sentences on 77 gender-based violence cases involving 84 accused persons. Inolwamvila ingalo yomthetho. Police stations are also a critical component towards ensuring citizens feel safe. Sakha police station yase Amajola ngapha Port St. John's, sakha police station yase Tafalo Hashe, sakha police station eXhorha, sakha police station yase Moyeni apha ePeti. Wonke lo msebenzi ngumsebenzi esiwenzayo. And the construction of Hook police station in Mandileni village in Mount Frere will be completed in the coming financial year. Silwa ulwaphulo mthetho sicapacitator state to deal with ulwaphulo mthetho. Kukho umkhuba omtsha ke wokuphangwa kweemoto zikarhulumente eOR Tambo naseChristian. More than 55 government vehicles have been hijacked in the past 12 months, and government officials are now scared going to these areas. Thetha ukuthi service delivery ke izawuchaphazeleka. Sicela abantu bakuthi bayinqande lento, abo benza lento bathatha imoto zikarhulumente kumagosa karhulumente mabachazwe kuzwe nabo ngaphambili. On that note, let me take this opportunity to wish the Eastern Cape Provincial Commissioner General Nomtheteleli Mene a happy and a healthy retirement as she leaves subs at the end of February. Thank you very much for your good service, General. Cela simqhwabele. We bow our heads in remembrance of police and people of our province who lost their lives, including the soldiers who died in the Democratic Republic of Congo. road users who perished during the festive season, victims of mass killings, and the young men who died during the initiation school. We are tackling these issues. We are bringing solution, working in cooperation, collaboratively with all other critical stakeholders. Honorable Speaker, the President has pronounced on a national dialogue in which South Africans are called upon to chart a new path for our country. As we march forward towards the fourth decade of freedom and democracy, we are calling our people, urging all of them to reconnect with our values of Ubuntu. We used to value and respect each other. We used to work together for a good of our communities. We used to support each other. We used to consider the feelings of others. What happened to us? I leave this answer to those questions for each person in this house and those listening at home to ponder, but know one thing: it is not too late to be the best version of ourselves, to contribute positively to building thriving families, thriving communities, and thriving the Eastern Cape. Honorable Speaker, members of this House, fellow citizens, we have shared with you a comprehensive forward-looking plan by the ANC-led provincial government to build a thriving Eastern Cape where people reach their full potential and live a life of fulfillment. In the next 5 years, Honorable Speaker, we are going to be moving with speed in ensuring that we are able to confront the challenges that are not smooth sailing of geopolitical tensions. We remain committed to fostering solidarity, cooperation, friendship, peace with other countries of the world as directed by the Freedom Charter. But we will not be bullied. We are continuing with our existing international partnership on trade and investment while exploiting the new markets in our continent, the Middle East and the BRICS Plus countries as part of our economic diplomacy. We implore our people, the private sector, and social partners to heed our clarion call of doing more together to build a thriving Eastern Cape. Our unity is our strength. Ubunye ngamandla mawethu. Umbhali wombongo Washington umuntu oxolo Khwethane uyibeka kakuhle lento xa nizawuhlala phansi xa esithi ubunye sisixhobo sayimpumelelo, lubambiswano olumqhelo omnye, abakwenzayo bakwenza kunye, ezinzima bona bayathwalisana, ezixakayo kuzo bayancedisana. Somlomo mandehle kweliqonga ngalamazwi katata S.E.K. Mqhayi ndenjenje godukane zizwe iphelile into ibithethwa. Thank you very much.
into ngumagaqaqhala ngenaqhala ngenxa yongatyi umqhaqhayiqaqamisa abaqalathelane ayinangubaqaqaqa sukivatya mkholwane kanyokomxhoso thekoko yamabuyane kwedini ondoni nale unayo yayikwazi ukumelana nephondo elikhulu kangaka bambi bakucelela mva bambi bakubitha intliziyo kodwa kwedini ubonakala ngoba indoda ubuyomelela kakade kwedini ukhabakhaba uqala ukhakha ulokhatshakhuwa ngokhathala mane mandandisitsho ndisithi ndandisithi kwedini kowuphatha isididide sidikidiki kanti kowudidide edikidiki yamadiya udiya kumbejula kaloku madoda ndibavile abantwana abangamantombazana bekuxhoma ngokwakhe ibhulorho balibala bakwedini nathi saye kumfamfatha ngabasivatha ngeyethu fumani xa ndisitsho ndisithi hayi kwedini Mabuyane umathangamdaka ukwazi usingathi ngxubaqaqaqa zephondo umqolo uvetyeveki ukwazi ukubeleka izikhalo nezikhathazi zabantu hayi fumani uba le ntwana ndiyiphi isikhahlelo kanitsho ngazwilinye nithi vuthulula intsokolo vuthulula intsokolo yinto sifuba sithe gaga nyokwecelu yinto engingalazi ndembelela ukwazi ukwangabantu naphoso mhla idibano siyasanga kaloku yayihlala icamisa umqabelo ephupheni yaqonda bezawudibana nentombi ebuso obuthambileyo konke ubuso bayo bungatyabuka ngasanga kubona usiyasanga kwedini intsebenzo nayo loo nto nduthandwe ntluna ngabakhubazekileyo qaqeza mibane uphakamisa udiya abela kwedini ndiyinduli neentaba namaxethu kwifunxi yemfunxi ephumelelo hayi kade mbekweni weqhathi neqhawe somqhabalaka siqhayisa nenqonsonqeqinile ngumaxinase kwedini tyutyumeza utyhilisa utyhale ungabi sasitywabatywabe esityumtyumba tywakaza njutyutywala rhubuluza urhuqa ngumrhatyi kwakarharha bungabi naburhalarhube mani xa ndisitsho ndisithi le nto isasithixithixi ngumthika kathixo ngenithi sithingawuthi thiba zithakathangothaa ngakwedini ndingaguqa ngamadolo ndimthatha mthaphulula uthaphuzi yemthatha yaphela igranti kwedini emthatha kuqesha izindlu bengenazindlu sawutyantona kwedini khawusondela kuba kakade utsalatsala macala uzukuthi ke maceba wakhathali kwakuhlala phantsi ucinge bungabenzela naba yabahleli kulaa ndawo na hayi mbonga indini abungazange usocenga ubusoncoma fundani ke abantwana ndini lutsha chambazani bebatsha lichambaza libetshakatshaka ngabatsha mba okwabachakaza bachakachaka silandela kulaa mzila kadiya hayi kwedini ndandiba uphuma ingcobo ukhumsha ulibhetye ulwimi ngathi ungumlungu omnyama kanti wafunda kwayiphi naweni indawo ndiyamzonda umntu onokuyisa kwesi sihlalo kuba kaloku nathi singaphelelwa zizinto singalahlekelwa kuvela kumfama simfafathe yizamamkesi bubone izenzo nokufundisa kwakho nendoda suka nento imbongi ingathetha nje kuphela mathe yo
Nkosi Lungisa, can we give him another rounding of applause? Can we be seated? Thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Premier, for tabling your State of the Province address. There are just a few announcements and acknowledgements that we do have to make. I can see that all three our Mbongis are pressed for time because they are very eager to come and do their thing. But I think we also need to acknowledge that in the House we have our own veteran in the province, Ben Fischler. Can we give him a rounding applause? We also have the representative from Lower Saxony, Ms. Inge Stefan, with us. The Consul General of Namibia, Ms. Elizabeth Theron. The Deputy Consul General of Namibia, Ms. Sakiria Saima, I hope I pronounced it correctly. The Deputy Consul General of China, Mr. Changam Tang. And the Consular Attaché from China, Mr. Zejun Zhao. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So these are our diplomats that are here present also with us. Let's also take this opportunity to acknowledge all of the members of the community, the public, that have joined us in the PVAs where they were in Amatole District Municipality, in Great Kai, Nguma, Raymond Mhlaba, Ngushwa, Amatlati. They were all there. In Mzimvubu, Dr. A.B. Kuma, Blue Crane, in Hill, as well as Walter Sisulu Municipality. That is where our public was watching in the PVA. Also acknowledging those that have followed us on our YouTube, our Facebook pages of both the provincial legislature and the office of the Premier, and the shared government departments. Also on Mhlobo Wenene FM, True FM, Mpuma Kapa TV, as well as the Eastern Cape Community Radio Hub. Thank you so much for those that have joined us. It will be amiss of us if we do not acknowledge in this that even though we have all of these good things, but we also have sad news. One of our own have also passed, have experienced loss. Our own Honorable Madikizela has lost his legal guardian and his uncle, who will be laid to rest, as well as condolences to our First Lady, Mrs. Sia Mabuyane, who has lost her father. He will also be laid to rest. He is the father-in-law of our Honorable Premier, as well as the passing of Prof. Mashia, who will also be laid to rest this weekend. Please, where we are, can we please console the family and join them if we do have the time. But let us also not forget our own Banyana is facing Lesotho in a friendly. Let's give them a shout out, let's watch them, and let's get onto Twitter and all of the Facebook pages just to show our support for them. We have gathered here, ladies and gentlemen, under 30 years of commitment, of renewal and service. The people shall govern. Thank you so much for having joined us and for, being present here with us and availing yourselves and your time to sit and to listen to, I think, arguably the longest State of the Province address that we've ever had in this. Thank you. Thank you to the discipline that was displayed in the House, and also your eagerness that you've displayed in acknowledging where there have been progress and where the priorities have been lifted. It is now my privilege to invite all honorable members and our guests to lunch. I would also just request the Secretary to make a few announcements regarding the lunch arrangements. Over to you, Secretary.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In terms of our lunch arrangements, honorable members and guests are requested that they must follow this protocol. The protocol officers that have been supporting members to access the House will also assist to lead you to the various stations where you will be served. Due to limited space, we are unable to accommodate everyone in the same venue. Therefore, the following categories of guests will be accommodated in the members' dining hall, the Nokanime Thomas Dining Hall. All members of provincial legislature, MECs, including permanent delegates, and also our resident ministers, they will be in the dining hall. Premier's guests, except HODs, who are to go to the stretch tent, which is out there in front. The EXCO of the House of Traditional Leaders and Khoisan leadership, members of the judiciary, kings and queens, chaplaincy, ANC guests and sub-provincial commissioner. All of those will go to the Nokanime Thomas Dining Hall, which as you exit is then just on your left there in front. Then all other guests must then proceed to the stretch tent where lunch will be served, as well as also here in the members' lobby, which is behind us. We will also be serving for media and project teams lunch in the various boardrooms allocated for this purpose. The protocol officers will guide you to the various boardrooms that will then be utilized for that purpose. I do want to request, or maybe before I request, make one announcement there is a key for a VW car that has been found. Whoever has lost that key is requested, ask one of the protocol officers to take you to the security manager, Mr. Manina, who has the key. Lastly, honorable members, you are all requested to stand as the presiding officers. They leaves the chamber with the honorable premier, and the procession goes, and you remain standing and silent until the procession leaves and the protocol officers open the rest of the doors. Thank you.
Honorable members, that concludes the business of the day. The House will adjourn until 2:15 on Wednesday, the 26th of February, 2025 at the Raymond Mhlaba Chamber for the debate of the State of the Province address. Please do join us on all our media pages. The House is therefore adjourned. Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Eastern Cape stage of the Province Address. We are still coming to you live from Bisho. My name is Jessica Bobo. And we have just seen the Premier speaking to the residents of the Eastern Cape. To the Eastern Cape residents, telling them on what they should be expecting for the whole of the 2025 speech. Of course, not alone. I am with Yamkelam Chio.
Indeed, Jessica, a lot of things that the Premier has touched on, including the unemployment. But we've heard the Premier saying that as the government, they have money to create 1,450,000 in 2024, also saying that the aim is to create this number to 2.4 million by 2030, and also is looking at creating a further 54,500 jobs across various economic activities. And I think that is at least a positive step towards fixing the issue of unemployment and economic development in the Eastern Cape.
Now I'm going to be bringing in the MEC for Education, Mr. Fundile Gade, as he is coming in to be speaking to us. Tata, mandumbulise inkosi kakhulu ngexesha lakho.
Siphilile nathi akhondo ninjani nina?
Siyaphilana nathi tata akhona. Ungathi qala mhlambi uziva njani ngespeech sika Premier?
Intetho kaPremier intetha egxile kakhulu ekwakhiweni kwezakhono njengoba usazi basinembali ngenhlanga apha eMpuma Koloni yokuba indawo yekuthathwa kuyo abantu bokusebenza lanto ngathi i-labor reservoir for the developed provinces in the country. So enye yezinto ebegxile kuyo kuqiniseka into bani imfundo yethu mayibe ngendlela efanelekileyo ingabi yomfundo yokupasa nje kwabantwana but ibe imfundo ezawukwazi unika ithemba ekwakhiweni kwezakhono zabantwana. Okwesibini kukwakhiwa kweziseko zophuhliso, indlela, izikolo, izibhedlela, amathala encwadi, noqiniseka into kubana kwimiceli-mingeni besoloko sinayo apha eMpuma Koloni siyakwazi ukuyiphendula. But okuna kubalulekileyo kukoka again kuqiniseka into kokuba njengephondo siyakwazi ukuphendula ingxaki zehlabathi. Umzekelo ubana ngaba kubonakala ngokungathi cannabis ingayenye yezinto ezinokwenza uphuhliso kwihlabathi njengabantu ke abanembali yokuba ilapha ephikhoyo i-cannabis in the country in general, then sikwazi ke ngokwakha amaqonga wokuphuhlisa eza cannabis, amaqonga wokukhuhlisa amalwandle esinawo, nokuqiniseka into kokubana ukufuya nokulima eMpuma Koloni kuthatha i-center stage kule term sizayiqala.
Inkosi kakhulu kulo ke nomsana, ndiyabuyelela kakhulu.
Joining me now is the MEC for Finance, MEC Mlungisi Mfoko. MEC, thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, before we look at the speech by the Premier, I want us to talk about the postponement of the budget speech in Parliament. How does that affect our own budget here in the province?
The only thing that it affects our budget is the dates that we had. Remember, we had our budget on the 12th, the date for the 12th, so now we have to move a week later. But we still have to discuss the final date with the legislature to know which days are open for that. So the process, look, we had already prepared quite a lot for the budget, so unless otherwise there are serious changes in what was going to be presented, then we have to restart the process. But if there aren't any, we'll just delay it by a week or so.
All right. The province economic growth currently stands at 2.1%, which is below your target of 2.8 in 2025. Do you think that you will be able to achieve 2.8% by the end of this year?
Well, look, the Premier outlined quite a number of programs that actually are focusing on economic growth. Now, if we as a province would actually implement, even if it's 80% of those, there would be a good growth within the province. Because what I like is that how he combines it with also the skills that are needed within the province and the programs of skilling. They run across, such that the province would move away from this thing of skills shortage. So I do have hope, particularly when it talks about agriculture. You must remember, agriculture in the province is one of those sectors that is underperforming. And this is an agricultural province with so much of the livestock and everything else. So if we could really do something on agriculture, I think it would improve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was MEC Mlungisi Mfoko talking to us about this speech. At this moment, my colleague is joined by one of the people who attended this event. Let us go to her and see what they have to say.
And now I'm about to speak to the MEC of Health, Dandokazi Kapa, who she'll be telling us more on what the Premier had to say about the health. Mrs. Kapa, inkosi kakhulu for joining us in Mpuma Kapa TV.
Inkosi ndiyabulela nami ndiyabulisa nakubabukeli benkapa iKapa TV.
Enkosi kakhulu. MEC, I think one of the main points I heard the Premier say about the health department is the establishment of an intervention team led by the Director General, comprising the Office of Premier, Provincial Treasurer, and National Department of Health. How will it work, and how will this solve the problems that are surrounding health?
It's one project that we think is coming all right. The intervention is really assisting us. As a result, we have managed to deal with the issue of medical illegals. We have reduced quite a number of cases. As a result, we have managed also to take the matter to the Supreme Court of Appeal, the famous Noila case. So it's very important, and it's really assisting us as a department. And we are hoping that as we go to the next financial year, we'll definitely, of course, we're waiting for the budget speech from the minister. We'll definitely try and deal with those chronic issues that relate to the staff shortages, especially for the doctors and nurses. We don't want to say anything much for now because it's something, but there's something that on the pipeline. There's something on the pipeline.
Okay, MEC, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, let's see on the other side of the insight that will be given to the Eastern Cape residents.
Education is the foundation of a thriving society. 30 years ago, access to quality education in the Eastern Cape was limited for many. But through the dedication of our government, educators and communities, we've redefined what it means to empower young minds. Education is more than just buildings. It's about creating an environment where every learner can thrive. Over the past 3 decades, government has introduced critical initiatives to support our students every step of the way. In recent years, the provincial government has managed to build state-of-the-art schools across all districts.
Sisesikoleni sethu esitsha iWillow Technical High School. Besifane singabi na class phaka pure science. Sifane sifundela phandle. So ndinethemba uba ngoku sofunda kakuhle sotsho sipase kakuhle.
Singabazali kumnandi andazi kumnandi kakhulu. Ezi zinto siyazithemba into bazenziwa urhulumente lo uphetheyo weli lizwe.
Today, thousands of learners benefit from scholar transport, daily nutritious meals, and the assurance that textbooks are ready for every academic year. The Eastern Cape has seen a remarkable transformation in academic performance. Our learners and educators have shown that with the right support, excellence is within reach. From rising matric pass rates to top-performing schools, the journey of progress is driven by hard work of learners, teachers, and communities working together.
So this is indeed, colleagues, a collective effort, a collective responsibility, and therefore these are collective results.
Education is a societal matter. It's the product of collaboration between the government, educators, parents, and communities.
We have been able to work with the NGOs, and they have supported all of us. We have been able to work with the SGBs, association, traditional authorities. Academics of the province have been on the spot. The business sector helped us a lot.
Together, we've created opportunities that extend beyond the classrooms, inspiring a generation to dream big, as this further illustrates that it takes a village to raise a child. For 30 years, the Eastern Cape Provincial Government have built more than just schools. We've built futures. The journey of education in the Eastern Cape is a testament of the power of partnership, perseverance, and progress.
Eastern Cape, home of legends.
Still on the reactions on the State of the Province address by the Premier of the Eastern Cape, Lubabalo Oscar Mabuyane. We are joined now by the chairperson of the EFF in the Eastern Cape Province, Mr. Zilindi Leve. Now, welcome to Makapa TV. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you think of the Premier's speech?
Thank you very much, and thanks for having us. Today we came here knowing that we are going to be told stories and dreams. We thought, firstly, before you can share your dreams of the next 5 years, you at least account for the past 5 years. The man has been in office since 2019 till 2024. We have not had any accountability. The only thing that it talks about is the roads network that are done by SANRAL because there is no capacity from the Department of Roads in the province. Hence, the national agency came in, and we see that the work is being done. There's no corruption, but in all what he's been saying around the construction and all that stuff, it's only the fact that there is limitation in terms of social facilitation. So, number two, we thought he will tell us what is going to happen around the issue that there is a 31st March deadline of pit latrine toilets, in which the province has a problem with that. Probably the MEC will come and give us, but we know for a fact that there are more than 4,000 schools that are still having that problem. And we thought we must also celebrate the fact that the king of our team has raised an issue of the intertwined relationship between politicians and criminals, of which that is when we saw a different premier who came out and put a stamp after so many calls to say you have to be firm on criminals, and we are happy that at least he's still moving with that. And also the fact that on land question he is very firm, because without land there is nothing, there is no job creation that will happen, especially in the Eastern Cape.
All right. Do you think maybe the Premier may have overpromised the residents in the Eastern Cape, especially with the mentioning of the construction of 7 bridges?
No, I think there is the construction of 7 bridges and all those things. They are there because of the capacity that SANRAL has. The province cannot claim anything out of that. The money is always taken directly. It's not going to the provincial account. It's not going anywhere. It goes directly to SANRAL, and the SANRAL is a national agency. It's not a provincial agency. So you must understand that even if you can claim and say it's a government of the ANC, it's a national agency that have capacity. If this thing was left here, money was going to always go back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Right, that is the EFF chairperson here in the Eastern Cape, Mr. Zilindi Levena, who talked to us about what their reactions were from the State of the Province address. I'm now joined by UDM, who are members of the Parliament and came to listen to the State of the Province address. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. My name is Mkhululi Mqocho. We have noted the speech of the Premier, but we have concerns in that a number of areas he has covered. For example, you heard him speaking about the health, and he indicated that they're also facing difficulties in terms of correcting the situation there in the Department of Health. There are a number of problems there. The dilapidated infrastructure, absence of control in terms of the management, and the services that are rendered by the department. They are not enough to serve the people's interests.
What is it that you think the Premier did not mention today, which you were expecting him to address?
In terms of health and safety, we are experiencing a lot of problems. Our people are vulnerable. They have got problems of domestic violence. They are experiencing extortions. And the Premier failed to touch up on that area so that people are ensured that they are safe in the places where they stay.
What else can you say? I mean, with regards to the 7 bridges that he promised, do you think that he may have gone overboard and promised more?
Yes, in some instances, this has been a continuous, these were continuous promises, and there were failures in some instances in terms of the implementation. We will analyze the situation as we go, whether there is a possibility, because in some times they cry about the budgetary constraints, which are a problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That is the leader of the United Democratic Movement talking to us about what they were expecting, and in fact what was not said by the Premier of the Eastern Cape. I am now joined by Dr. Vicky Coetzee from the Democratic Alliance, who's going to talk to us about what the reactions are. What do you think of the state of the province address by the Premier?
To be very honest with you, I must say today's SOPA address was probably one of the most frustrating, disappointing and frankly embarrassing SOPA address that I've ever attended in this legislature. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. We came here today with the expectation that we are going to get a very clear plan and a roadmap to how we are going to address unemployment in this province, how we are going to grow the economy in the Eastern Cape, and how we are going to drive down the debilitating cost of living that our people are facing in this province. But instead, we saw that the Emperor actually exposed himself as somebody that is completely out of touch with the people of the Eastern Cape. The fact is, we have got a very, very high unemployment rate. Nearly half of the people in this province don't have a job. They don't have the dignity of a job. That is 1 out of 2 people. We just found out in the crime stats this morning that we've got the highest murder rate in this province. Our people are not safe. We also found out that we've got 7 billion rand in accruals and very high medico-legal claims in terms of the Department of Health. That is nearly 17% of the total budget of the Eastern Cape. We thought we were going to come here and hear how they are going to slash red tape so that people can more easily do business and invest in our province. We thought they were going to talk about how we are going to invest in built infrastructure and digital infrastructure.
If you were in charge, which aspect would you fix in order to address all these issues that you've talked about?
My main focus today would be to set a course and give direction to the people in this province on how to create jobs, how to grow our economy, and how to reduce the cost of living. The first thing that we would have talked about is how to move funds from non-core expenditure to core expenditure. Perfect example is the Department of Health. Move it to core expenditure, because now we are losing doctors and nurses so that we can fund a bloated administration. People are dying in our hospitals. Going to one of our state hospitals has become a death sentence.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you.
That is Dr. Vicky Coetzee from the Democratic Alliance. At this moment, let us go to the ad break. We'll be right back.
In the fields of the Eastern Cape, agriculture has been the heartbeat of our communities. For generations, families relied on subsistence farming to survive. But over the past 30 years, the story has changed. Today, these same fields are producing opportunities and prosperity. Through investment, innovation, and training, we've supported farmers in moving from substance to surplus, transforming agriculture into a driver of economic growth. Mechanization, new farming techniques, and modern tools have unlocked the potential of our fertile lands. Whether growing maize, sunflowers, or raising livestock, Eastern Cape farmers now contribute to local and international markets, building a legacy of self-sufficiency and success. Agriculture is not just about food, it's about people. By creating surplus production, farmers are building wealth that transforms their communities. With profits from the land, families are sending children to school, building homes, and investing in their futures. New techniques like rotational grazing and precision farming have revolutionized livestock and crop production, ensuring long-term sustainability and resilience against climate change. Today, the fields of the Eastern Cape are fields of promise. From substance to commercialization, farmers are cultivating not just crops, but brighter futures for their families and communities. Together, we're growing prosperity, one harvest at a time.
Eastern Cape, home of legends.
Sisesebhisho ke sijongene nezimvo zabantu abazithethayo malunga ke nentetho ewiswe yinkulu baphathiswa yephondo uOscar Mabuyane namhlanje. Yamkela xa ujongile nanjengoba besithethile nabantu, ingaba mhlambi yintoni abayibonayo, ingaba bayagxeka okanye bayancoma?
Without a doubt, they are very critical of the state of the province address by the Premier of the Eastern Cape. A lot of them saying that this is just all talk and no show. The Democratic Alliance saying that there is no proper plan to address unemployment, saying there is no proper plan to deal with the dilapidating infrastructure in our clinics and hospitals, saying that they are disappointed, in fact, with what the Premier has said. They were expecting something more tangible, saying that it was frustrating to listen to the Premier of the Eastern Cape addressing these issues. And of course, the EFF saying that there is no plan. And in fact, they're saying that they were expecting to hear what they've heard today from the Premier of the Eastern Cape. I mean, from all those people that we've talked to, no one seems to be happy with the Premier of the Eastern Cape and what he said and what he put up as plans to boost the economy of the Eastern Cape province, to deal with unemployment and infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Yamkela. Okwangoku ke sisaqhubeka sithathana nezimvo zabantu abazithethayo malunga ke nentetho ewiswe nguye inkulu baphathiswa yephondo. Tata, mandikubulise ndikwamkele. Tata, enkosi kakhulu Tata Majola, ingaba wena ucaphule ntoni phayana kwintetho yenkulu baphathiswa namhlanje? Khona into mhlambi azenayo ezawuthi izuzise into phaa kwi-department yakho?
Zingambalwa yokuqala ngeyokuthi ugxilile kuphucuka komgangatho wemfundo, esitsho ezekelisa ngezinto esisibonileyo thina ngokwethu, kuba sithena ngo-85%, even omnye if uthi 84.98, but uthi ke ngoku makuyiwe ku-90%, which means ugxile kwikamva labantwana. Wagxila ke nakule aviation school apho kuthatha abantwana kwizikolo ezihlelelekileyo ezingu-quintile 1, 2 and 3 bayokufundisa uba zii-engineers, zii-air traffic, zii-pilots. But kwelinye icala ubethelele uPremier wasikholisa kwinto ye-infrastructure, ngakumbi indlela, kuba ngoku sinengxaki uyikhankanyile loo nto yabantwana bemkani Milambo. Ezuba ndime apha ngale mini ye-21st of February sinabantwana abamke nge-19 besikolo sangapha eFlagstaff bemkana amanzi bengamantombazana babhubhile. So sisanida uba makwenziwe indlela, sithi kurhulumente makakhawulezise ukwenzela uba kungade kufa abantwana abaninzi sisamane uyithetha le nto apha phakathi ebhodrum.
Ungathi tata xana uqhubeka ucaphula phayana kwi-children rights, ungathi yintoni into mhlambi obunganqwenela aqhubekeke kuyo okanye mhlambi oyivilileyo?
Phaya kweli cala lamakulunga labantwana nisafuna kugxilwe kakhulu ekuthini kungenziwa only i-funds available, kodwa kuqiniswe into yobana iziseko phaa ku-early childhood development, because kulapho abantwana bethu baqala ukonakala khona, so that singabagobi umthiso omdala. So uba kunokuqinisa iziseko zabantwana, kuqiniseke abantwana bayatya, abantwana bakhwela i-transport ukuya esikolweni, kuba if abantwana bane-right to education, lo right to education iqale kuthini semkhuphe ekhaya ayokufika esikolweni. So uba ikenzeki loo nto, then asikayifulfili i-right nala obligation yokuqinisekisa ukuthi umntwana usesikolweni.
Tata, mandibulele kakhulu ngexesha lakho. Lowo ke ibinguye utata uMajola esixelela ke ngoku ngamalungelo abantwana esithi uwathathile kokhona okwangoku ndikunye naye ke ugxa wam kwakhona uyamkela ndingakhange ndikulebise gxa wam mandithethe kanye ngalomba uzana utata ngamalungelo abantwana esithi ebenqwenela into yokuba ingaske inkulu baphathiswa yephondo igxile kakhulu ezintweni zokubana bahoywa njani abantwana ingakumbi abalimeleyo ngokuba ingathi kuthathwa isidala pha ukuqondwa kwabantwana especially kwezazikolo bafunda kuzo.
Ngokwenene Jessica inkulu baphathiswa ethe yayichaphazela nangona engangenanga kangako nje kumcimbi wezikolo ezibekelwe bucala ezisincedisa abantwana abaneengxaki ezithile mhlawumbi ethetha ke nge-special schools sithi khona imali ebekelwe bucala ezawuthi isiwe kwezazikolo ukuphucula indlela abafunda ngayo ukuphucula abafundisi ntsapho nabo ngokuqinisekileyo ke into leyo esizayibona kwakule minyaka.
Sivale lentetho yenkulu baphathiswa yephondo siyabona ke ngoku abantu baqhabashile bathatha ibheki zabo ziyahamba abanye babo bebonakalisa ukoneliseka abanye babo bebonakalisa ukungoneliseki kodwa ke ndiyacinga ngoba kusezawuziwa kule veki zayo ngabantu abangenayo apha eParliament bazokuhlalutya i-speeches kaParliament.
Yes, ngokwenene bayeza bazoxoxa ngamandla ke ngoku bethetha ngezona zinto abangaxolanga ngazo ezithe zabe ziyathethwa inkulu baphathiswa ke bazofumana ithuba elaneleyo ukuveza ezi zinto bebethetha nathi ngazo besithi noko asixolanga le nto ibithethwa inkulu baphathiswa besinqwenela thina okokubana izinto zihamba ohlobo.
Sekunjalo ke ngoku bantu beMpuma Kapa thina ke ngoku kunye mna kunye nogxa wam bekangako ebesukuphathele kona endingatsho ndikuxelele bekukuhle bekuyilonto kunjalo nangona abanye bexolile abanye bengaxolanga.